'cause we're better together. Better as one. 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 have forever. Baby, I could take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. Just say that you'll be, say that you'll be. I'd be there for you whenever you need me. Whenever you need me. But you've been holding back. Maybe you're just not ready. Baby, do you feel the same? Or do you feel the pressure? I promise I can take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too.
Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now.
somebody to come and save you from the cold of night. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye? Quiet like the ocean, with the rumble running deep. This is how I see you, when you hide your feels from me. Why you heavy-hearted? Cut the silence, talk to me. Release your mind, get what you need. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. Why did you say goodbye? It's better to say goodbye. So why did you say goodbye?
Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. And even when it seems like there's no way out, we'll grow a little closer. We water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I'll back. I'll back. I'll back. 'Cause we're better together. Better as one. 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 Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. Grow a little closer, we're water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I'll back. I'll back. I'll back. Cause we're better together. Better as one. Better together. Better as one. Better together. can move, 'cause we don't have forever. Maybe I could take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. Just say that you'll be, say that you'll be. I'd be there for you whenever you need me. Whenever you need me. But you've been holding back. Maybe you're just not ready. Baby, do you feel the same? Or do you feel the pressure? I promise I can take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too.
Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now.
a little bit greater HP for Victor. The boost was up.
Just separation could be the reason why they don't close out this game. Swave on the top.
I give it, look at my eyes.
There's lying X looking to swing on through on the side of it.
We got a lot on the line. Fish with a different approach. Only spend time in the boat.
Close together and grouped up. A good nade might find all they're looking for. Leg C, leg X.
We are back. It's the PUBG Mobile Pro League, Western Europe Summer. I always say summer because to me it's still summer. Fall 2022 season, the last season of the year before we get into PMGC. And I'm your host, Jason Kaplan, joined by Maxman and Kalaris. And gentlemen, it's been an exciting first day here of our 3-day stint, but we still only have 2 days left to go here in our first phase before we know what teams will be settling around what points as we get into our finals. First of all, though, before we do talk about yesterday, I'm going to give a quick shout out here to Monster Energy as their official energy drink partner here of PMPL. And not to mention, a lot of social media channels for you guys all to follow for some cheeky posts that I believe they've been making due to a certain person. Over to my left hand, right? I don't know technically what side to call it. But gentlemen, Max, yesterday was exciting. We had teams who were in desperate need of getting some big points here to secure themselves in top 12 or maybe breach top 12, finally get some victories.
Yeah, I mean, the first 3 days of this first phase, we saw a lot of the teams at the top remain on top, consistently getting some points in. But yesterday, we did see a change of pace, right? Seeing some new teams like MUERTE in particular step up, get some good points, and other teams around them too. So it seemed like some teams have finally woken up after that 4-day break, and some changes have been made, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, and I think it's cool because, of course, teams like XTEAM, who are right at the bottom, can still get wins and still, in theory, make top 12. So there's still a lot to play for.
Yeah, not to play for indeed here. We can see, though, MADBULLS kind of creating a league for themselves. 205 points, 30 points ahead of any other team here in the lobby at the moment as Eastern Stars are trying to close that gap. But speaking of closing gaps, VIRTUS.PRO have been steadily climbing the leaderboards here day in and day out.
Yeah, I mean, their fragging power is currently almost unmatched. If they take some fights a lot of the time, they're going to be the ones to come out on top of it. So their eliminations are definitely looking really strong. But yeah, I mean, currently Eastern Stars and MADBULLS, sure, they're getting some good points. VIRTUS.PRO, they get one big pop-off day, like they have been able to showcase in like day 3 and also potentially a little bit of yesterday. They can contest for that first place position.
Yeah.
So Eastern Stars and MADBULLS, better be careful. VIRTUS.PRO, they're coming for you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they've got themselves quite a lot of podium finishes, right? In the past couple of games, a lot of third places. And as soon as 1 or 2 of these start to convert into a win, then, oh boy, I think those MADBULLS got to be a little bit tense about their top spot.
Well, okay. Yeah, that is very true. And obviously the 20 points to go with it that take you straight into the finals. But we can see now our second page. Remember, top 12 is very important. We still have 2 days to play, but at the end of our second or third day of play, which is tomorrow, we'll be having an extra special match over on Livik where only our top 12 teams will be participating for a chance to move up the leaderboards just a bit more to get more points secured. And speaking of points secured, Na'Vi, big. 2 teams here that we never would have expected to be outside of top 12, let alone outside of top 8, have been having a big struggle here these last couple of days.
It has been rough for the guys. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it's the first phase, you know, of course there's going to be changes being made, but I expected, okay, we had a 4-day break. I was expecting them to go back to the drawing board and make some changes like we saw from some of the teams that have actually had a really good day yesterday. It hasn't happened yet, and unfortunately we're getting to the point where this phase is about to end, so they're going to get very small amount of points to head into the finals with, and their position is what, like 5-6 points potentially, compared to first place they're going to get 20 points. They're going to fall back pretty quickly, so they need to get back in the action really soon.
I think the upside though for these teams though, Kalaris, is there is a reset after the phase ends, right? Everyone goes back to 0 points, you start again. And technically, as long as you're getting like an okay amount of points every single phase, you're really not going to be that far behind, you know, a team who maybe plays first every single time. Well, maybe then you'll actually quite far behind. But it is still reachable. It is still breachable to catch up to them here. And teams like Na'Vi and Big, we know can show up. I think maybe, hopefully, knock on wood, if you can hear that. It's just a slow start.
I did hear it. It was audible, yes. I think for Na'Vi and Big, yeah, a fresh reset like that would be advantageous in this scenario. However, I mean, it's been really weird for Big especially, I think, because they've already had wins and multiple podium finishes as well throughout these games, but it's been such a disaster elsewhere when we know that this team is not only able to get themselves to the right locations, but also can even fight on the edges and actually fight into circles. We've seen it. It has been shown in previous seasons as a whole. So I want to see that big again because we know that they can do it.
You're mentioning them fighting into circles. Well, one team we saw yesterday not have to do any of the fighting into circles because they were blessed by the zone, it seems. MUERTE is a team we're going to have to talk about here. They were in 12th place at 73 points at the start of the day, and we saw them shoot up to 8th at the end. They get themselves a back-to-back chicken dinner, and honestly, one step closer to securing themselves some decent points here in our first week of phase.
Yeah, they were still able to do some good presence here in the third day, or the first part of this first phase. Oh, that's a lot of numbers there. But they are able to convert here some actual wins.
It's the second half of the first phase in our first week of our second season of PMPL.
Okay, you lost me. That's too many numbers for me, Jason. You should know that. I can't follow that one. But no, the conversion, I think the question mark for MUERTE in the first phase was, okay, they can get eliminations, they can convert some really good plays into those eliminations. Can they now convert some wins? And they showed it back-to-back yesterday. They got themselves a win with 7 eliminations, a win with 11 eliminations. They can indeed close these games into a win a lot of the time. So that was one of the questions I had for them. They answered it. Now the question is, can they replicate this type of performance time and time and time again? If so, there's a chance we could see them close to top 5 today. So I'm hyped to see what they can bring to the table.
For me, whilst we watch the highlights, it feels like QODEX 2.0. And that's the question I'm going to be posing to them, especially throughout this day. You had, yes, QODEX at the start of the season, or of the phase even, I should say, find themselves 2 back-to-back wins off the back of, I would say, easier EVA circles than MUERTE, but MUERTE just had West's shifts to then be able to walk in and have a lot of room to work with. I think they really need to have more consistency than QODEX after those wins came about. Otherwise, then I'll be questioning, you know, okay, did you get these wins off the back of pure skill, or did you get these wins off the back of having a nice spot and playing around that? So those are my question marks.
Yeah, and I think my question mark as well when it comes to them is, not question mark, but what I want to see, can they fight to get into a zone? Can they fight their way in? Because the 2 wins they had yesterday, the zone was just on top of them every single time, and they just had to sit in their compound and wait for the win to come to them. But if you want to be a truly great team, if you want to be able to compete against the Turkish teams, if you want to be able to compete against the likes of Nova and PMGC, you got to be able to fight into a zone and secure your place rather than just hope the zone goes your way. So hopefully for MUERTE, that's something they can work on. But at least for them right now, they're looking pretty confident to make it into our top 12 and to make it into our special show match over on Livik. But another team that we did see a little bit of a rise in, though mythical, Unicorns of Love. We've been asking where have they been this whole event so far. And Max, they finally showed up yesterday getting a big win.
Yeah, they definitely also went back to the drawing board for the past 4 days, and they found throughout yesterday only one really good game. The rest was just a little bit of a skip for them. But overall, that game in particular, the one play I wanted to look at was Icy's stats throughout that game, where they got himself also the win. Yeah, of course, averaged out throughout the 4 games of the day, but he really popped off on that one game. What was it? 9 eliminations in that one game alone, and he had 13 on the day. The setup was great, and I think that was one main issue we brought up yesterday, is that in the past, it was very focused around Alicio. Icy really stood out in the last season as like the top player of the team, and it seemed like that game, the setup around Icy was perfect, almost flawless, I would say. And I want to see more of that. Icy alone, sure, he can frag out, he can get some good eliminations, but if the team is not there, you're not going to convert into a win. And I think that is what we need to see more of from Unicorns of Love.
And they show confidence in the final stages of their game as well, right? I mean, there are few teams here that will flex out as even a 1-1-1-1 split in those final moments and say, okay, we're covering all these angles. We know that these third parties have happened. We know that all of these teams are wounded. Let's just make sure we actually strangle the situation against all of these teams. So they did that very well, and I want to see them be able to get themselves in similar spots again, because I think they're one of the best teams at doing it and closing it out at those final moments if they're able to execute like that.
See, what worries me though for Unicorns of Love is they're banking, I don't want to say they are doing this, but they're kind of banking everything on Icy performing. And if you're a team that's going to do that, well, first, if Icy can't perform that day, you're not going to do well. If you're not able to support him properly and synergize around him properly, then you're not going to do well. It seems like they're maybe putting a lot of their eggs in one basket. However, we know Icy from last season can be a very big standout player. And do you guys think, actually, as a follow-up question, they have that potential to support Icy, and Icy alone is good enough without necessarily a second star on the team at the moment to carry the team through.
I would say so. The reason why is when you look at all their roster changes, I think that they are definitely focused around making IC potentially a star player. You bring in Crypto, one of the top players from Pakistan, right? Making your fragging duo of the team. And then you bring in Gonzo from Alone, that is one of the most experienced international IGLs in the world. And I would say having a great IGL is definitely going to enable IC to do well with Crypto alongside him. So I think it's definitely the case. It did take some time to get there, but if they can replicate that one win of yesterday more consistently, I think they'll reach what was initially, I think, their end goal.
See, you actually bring up a good point. Yeah, with Gonzo on the team, for me, I always forget he's probably one of the best fragging in-game leaders. We think back to like Kanina Power days. Kind of very reminiscent of like Beowulf, in my opinion. But let's move on, though. There's still some other teams we wanted to touch on here, and the other teams who got a chicken dinner on the day. Well, it was XTEAM and it was SHOCKWAVE. And XTEAM, we saw have the biggest point match we've ever seen in a PMPL Western Europe last season at 39 points. But they've been a little bit lackluster so far, and to be fair, so is SHOCKWAVE a bit.
For XTEAM, you may as well shine an X-ray on them because they've been see-through this entire tournament long, apart from up towards the end of, you know, doing what I can, up until the end of the last gameplay day, right? I mean, with them getting themselves the amount of points that they did and a lost Leona's finish of all things, that was quite impressive. We do need to see a lot more than that, though. I said it at the beginning of the day that even XTEAM, in theory, could still make top 12 and move into that living match, but it's going to have to be a huge step up from them to be able to do so. Whether or not that happens, though, I think is debatable at this point.
Yeah, Max, really quickly, SHOCKWAVE. I mean, we know Trazen came over to the team from Game Lord. How do you feel about them as a team? Because I still think they're an insanely strong team, but they've just not been able to really shine so far in this.
Yeah, I think that I had the chance to talk about with them a little bit in the past because they're French. So I talked to all the French boys, and they are a team that is willing. We saw it last season. Is willing to make changes, and I think that's the best mark of a team is when they're willing to make changes when things aren't working out. They worked on that last season. Of course, there's roster changes happening here, and they had some really good pickups. Of course, you're looking at Trazen and looking at Azza too, which I think that Azza is definitely underrated as a player, and I think they had some really good pickups. So I expect them to trust the process and to just improve as the tournament goes on. So I think they can go a decent long way this season.
Yeah, and I'm hoping they do as well. They still have quite a bit of time here before we do get into the finals. So we have a little bit of time before we can head into our first match. Now, you guys at home who are playing and obviously enjoying PUBG Mobile, maybe you don't know too much about what it takes to play certain roles within the game, whether it's in-game leading, whether it's a fragger, support role. But what about a flanker role? Take a look at this. We'll be back here with the first match of the day.
To conquer the battlegrounds, players need to master strategic warfare. In a game where the usage of cover is paramount, taking risks to find openings in enemy defense is mandatory. The flanker on your team is the one who must shoulder this responsibility. A flanker always needs to have an exact idea of every enemy's location. While making their move to create angles, the flanker often gets spotted by the opposition or becomes exposed to getting third-partied. This is why they need to have impeccable accuracy, along with lightning reflexes to successfully carry out these risky plays. However, a good flanker knows how to evade from enemy's sight while they're making their move. The experts in this subject prefer vehicles for flanking. They use the map terrain to their advantage and rotate from behind ridges where enemy's vision can't reach. While doing so, the flanker also needs to communicate their movement with their team and, if necessary, need to fall back if they get spotted. A perfect flank is where you get exactly behind the opponent's squad while your team keeps them busy from the front. This way, you can deal damage across all directions as the opposition collapses. While playing aggressive, the flanker also needs to stay on their toes for whenever their teammates land a knock. They must use that opportunity to close the distance and get closer to the enemy's location, where they can use nades or obtain more angles to deal damage. A flanker also needs to understand that if they fail and get knocked midway, it's impossible to get revived. So, understand the stakes involved and plan your rotations accordingly so that you always stay one step ahead when those angles come into play.
Well, there it is. That is John Allen bringing us all the information about what it takes to play the flanker role. Well, let's give you some more information for you guys at home. Let's take a look at the matches today. Remember, we have these 3-day cycles when it comes to our phases that determine what our map order is going to be. Yesterday, we had double Erangel and double Miramar. However, today we're having double Sanhok and double Erangel. Tomorrow will be double Sanhok and double Miramar. So I'm excited to see how things are going to go here, especially on Sanhok, because Max, we've seen a lot of teams, one team in particular, changing their drop location quite consistently when it comes to this map.
I can't wait to see if TJB throughout this tournament are going to be able to drop in every single compound imaginable in Sanhok. I think there's a chance it's about to happen. They're about to make a world record here, so TJB, they're not playing the same tournament, I think.
Okay, well, we got a quick little quiz here for us here on the desk with our predictions. But the quiz is going to be a little bit different than a prediction. It's going to be a yes or no question. As you can see here, it's became a captain. Okay, well, that's I'm gonna give you the name of the person they're talking about here. Akashi from Game Lord became a captain because of a coin flip. Do we think that's true or false, gentlemen? So, yes or no, I guess technically.
You go first? Oh, I go first.
Me?
Yeah, well,
I'm
sure.
JK first. I'm gonna say no.
You're gonna say no?
No. I'm gonna say it was not determined by a coin flip.
I originally
determined by rock, paper, scissors.
Okay. I originally thought no, and then I realized they're French, and I feel like this is a very French thing that could happen. So I said yes at the end. I changed my answer.
He had no before we came on the show, and I went no with him, and now he's just turning on me.
Because I was like, this seems so... like, I can just imagine a conversation happening in French. I was like, yeah, 100%. It must have happened like that.
He also saw that Kalaris the Blesser went with yes, and he knows that he's right.
It's not
so
why.
I'm going with yes. I don't know what... Could be either.
Well, considering my track record when it comes to... Oh, hey, let's go!
This counts to the points as well.
Don't worry. I'm on 1 finally, okay? You're still safe on 5, Kalaris, even though we were all completely wrong yesterday.
Yeah.
But I like that. I like that. You know, I'm actually curious now how he did become in-game leader. Oh, I'm up to 2. Max man.
Yeah,
for me.
I'm coming for you.
If we're presented with this question, we should at least know the actual reason he became game leader. But yeah, there we go. We'll never know for now, I suppose.
And
Next,
then
ask him.
say is it was actually rock, paper, scissors. And
Exactly. He gets double points. Wow, amazing.
Now I'm just curious what's going to be the question tomorrow for us, because now they set us up with these great questions.
That was a good question. That was a good one. I liked that.
Okay. Well, the question I have, which I can answer for you, is who's going to be our commentators for our first match? It's going to be none other than John Allen and Blank here to kick off Sanhok here on our 5th day of our first phase.
Thank you very much, Jason and the desk. We're ready for Sanhok on this bright and fresh Saturday evening. We're going to be getting into the games very, very shortly, hopefully getting those teams dropped. See if TJB stick to their central ideas or if they're going to change things up again.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to stay on the central side, honestly, because there's so many teams that are just holding them out. I do like that Jason asked us who would be commentating. It's always us guys at the end of the day. So if you're ever wondering who's going to be commentating, it's going to be me and John. We're always going to be here. We might throw you for a loop, though. We might get, you know, one of the players in. Maybe Akashi will come and do some commentating off the back of a coin flip that me and him will be doing. Yeah, it's me, Akashi. That's a great impression of him. See, I would have gone with no. I would have gone with Jason. I feel like Jason was very astute in that sense. But for the reason that, you know, Akashi does seem like the in-game leader. He feels like the leader, right? From all the conversations, you know, that Max has had and he's fed back to us from French into English, you know, Akashi seems like the guy that, like, you know, he knows what he wants. He knows that he will be IGLing. Unfortunately, right now, Game Lord just aren't finding the right spots at the right time. And it's just very worrying to me that we're having a similar situation that happened on Eastern Stars, which is where you get individual pop-offs, but you don't get the team pop-offs. So you're kind of having that topsy-turvy at the moment where those two teams have kind of reversed roles.
Hopefully Game Lord will be able to find those right spot, right time situations for themselves in this first game of the day. As we're out over Sanhok, over from Camp Bravo, down towards Nakam, Tambang, on the southwestern side. No spicy drops seen just yet, but it's all a little bit higgledy-piggledy until they hit the ground.
Absolutely, the seatbelt sign is now off, so you can walk around the cabin as we do leave Sanhok. All those pesky little players have made their way down into the map and they're about to do battle. And I'm glad they're off board because they're way more skilled than I am, and I would not want to go versus them in a gunfight. M4 to M4, I would 100% lose 10 times out of 10. However, we are dropping over towards the northwest side of the island. So Na'Vi, we talked about this yesterday, adjustments need to be made, but already we're seeing Matic drop down towards the Confluence compound here on the wall. So a little bit interesting, John.
There's an even bigger adjustment as well from Big. They're now in Camp Charlie. They're not playing on that northwestern side. They're not in Camp Alpha. And with the circle zoning up there, maybe they're biting their tongues a little bit there, but that is a fairly big adjustment coming through from the team. I mean, they did get swept on Sanhok yesterday. If you remember, it was just SHOCKWAVE. They did come second, but it's not ideal to go down to 1 that early. VIRTUS.PRO, TJB dropping close to one another. TJB actually set up north side, so quite a few adjustments being made into today's games.
Yeah, I said I thought they would stay central. Apparently not. Goodness me, it's Western Europe all over again. Here we are in the fall split, and it's all about just felling all these players in the lobby. Apparently, that Molotov hits the wall. You at least get some hot concrete, but nothing more than that, son.
You know, it's fine. It is what it is. I think it burns a little bit through to the other side, so you force them off that section of wall, and it's going to work out. ARB finds X around the corner. That's what they're looking for. 2 players from Nexus already down, and ARB champions playing on the north side of Pine Nun effectively.
Yeah, pretty sad there, Nexus going down to 2. But again, this is Sanhok. It's what it's all about. This is how things are going to go down today. I did actually want to talk about Nexus, but not individually about Nexus, right? I also want to talk about Unicorns of Love. Nexus were able to get the 2nd highest elimination game. Come on, guys, calm it down.
Seems like it might be a very high elimination game very quickly, Blank. I mean, MUERTE down to 3 with a res. Take Aim Gaming losing one of their players. Similar situation, but slower on this res. Smoke not there yet, and Mind doesn't have any smoke, so just has to go for the naked res there.
The naked red, the raw res.
That's
yes,
right.
please.
Absolutely. Open broadside, but not really getting pushed out that way. That was a bit overconfident, I'd say, from MUERTE. And another knock.
Does have... Oh, he's got very limited ammo here, but I don't know if English is going to be able to pull this one back. It will be one incredible clutch up. He's extremely low, though, so even one-off angle might be able to do something. Can't quite find the second. And that will be those 2 players getting knocked out. So that's them down to just 1 player. So we picked them up at the start of the day, and this is usually how it goes, is that we immediately have to fall back on our feet because we are immediately proven wrong.
That's the one player buff. It's the one player buff,
It's the one player buff, man. You saw SHOCKWAVE do it yesterday, right? I mean, you called it right at the beginning of the game, John, and I was like, you know, that's interesting, but I don't really want to talk about that right now because I don't think it's going to come into massive effect. And you were like, no, SHOCKWAVE is going to do something big here. Lo and behold, 2nd place. So I'm going to have to listen to you more often here on Sanhok, John.
I felt real big brain about that one.
That was a big brain play, bro. I'm not going to lie.
It's true. It's true. And it wasn't just totally random. Game Lord make the cross early and run into some Eastern Stars, unfortunately, on this northwestern island. 3 players now. Rob's eliminated. Akashi, the Assassin, the non-coin flip IGL for Game Lord. Putting those nades in, but not really finding too much. Took a little bit of damage there. And the Eastern Stars hold out for now.
I mean, I feel like this should have been a pretty predictable play coming through. Pioneer's not predictable, though. They're actually dropping all the way on this northwest island. They've already got here. I don't think they dropped here in particular, but have moved across almost instantaneously, right? So they've not wasted any time getting onto this side of the island. Pretty confident that we're going to end up over towards this side. I mean, if you have boots on the ground close by, you may as well take your chances right on Sanhok.
I'm looking at that northwestern island, and without Big's presence in Camp Alpha, Na'Vi have got their 1-2-1 split that they've been operating with quite a few times over these last couple of days. They're moving it around, playing these 4 points of the cliffs. Seemingly going to have quite a good hold over this northwestern island. It's a very, very strong position. They haven't lost anyone early. They've had essentially free looting over that whole side of the island. This is Na'Vi's game to lose at the moment. It's very early, sure, but they absolutely are in the best spot possible for this.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch the team name you were talking about at the beginning there, but at the end I was like, I hope he's talking about Na'Vi, because I really do want to touch about Na'Vi right now. So yeah, it's nice to see that they've actually been able to get up here and not had too many difficulties. I think that comes down a lot to Big not even dropping here, which is curious, and I think it was a good thing to bring up right at the beginning of the game there, John, because it doesn't make too much sense to me not to drop on the northwest side. I mean, Big's found quite a bit of success on that side, but it might just be a case that they're feeling like, yes, they win that early game, maybe get a couple of knocks over towards Na'Vi, but those 2 elimination points just aren't worth not being able to get super far into the late game with a full squad. Yeah, they can get through with maybe 1 player, but you typically want to have that full 4 if you want to go for the chicken dinners, especially coming in today where you've got 2 Sanhoks. Play it more aggressively, go for it. I'm here for it, to be honest with you.
TJB, MADBULLS, jousting across the way, but both of them are going to have to cross, maybe not this circle, but perhaps next. Romanian men spotted out in the water by Big. I think this is all the way on the south coast, near Bantai.
Yeah, I can barely see it at this point in time. It is really, really out the way.
The blue's coming in. There's a boat out in the water over there. I imagine 4 Romanian men were trying to use that to skirt around, but Big was still there. You have to wonder, why are they still there, right? They are going to be right at the back of the queue.
100%, John. I am still trying to locate them on my map, but I am failing.
They're also down south towards Bantai.
Very, very down south there. So, yeah, I mean, to be fair, if they've read the rotation for 4 Romanian men, I mean, that works out perfectly well for you. I think there's been a few times where Big's made that rotation before, and they've made it in that boat. So, you know, you play enough games, you just know what someone else is going to do just off repeated actions, and even your repeated actions, right? I think that's how you predict other teams' movements. Like, what kind of move would I make in this situation? Which is usually quite useful to hold on to as information. But yeah, you are right. They're going to be right at the back of the queue. And if we do center up on that northwest side, they might be kicking themselves. But instead of getting the 2 eliminations early and going out early over on northwest side, maybe it's just a case of just the opposite all the way down to the south, which is not the result they were looking for. 4 Romanian men, stats just haven't looked amazing here on Sanhok. I know they were able to get killer into one of the final circles yesterday, but again, I think this is more of a symptom of that central play that we're seeing from a lot of these teams down towards Quarry side, John, where we are having huge amounts of teams just clumped up to the south side of Quarry, down towards Cave. It's an issue, and it's one that a lot of these teams should be solving soon. But with the rotating lobbies, it's always really rough to know whether you should be going north or south. We are having some slight migrations over to the north. However, I will talk about this perhaps next, Sanhok, because right now a lot of the rotations are based around these water crossings. And TJB, who dropped towards that north side and able to get at least 1 knock and elimination over towards Chulika, they're currently looking to head over towards Hatin. And that is vulnerable because Game Lord don't have full force.
I'm wondering exactly where the airdrop is in the crossing near ARB. Is it in the water? Is it on the bridge? Not entirely sure, but that could be a really, really important piece of cover to add to that location, because it is notoriously barren, notoriously open and difficult to cross. So if ARB are holding that north shore, there might be something that a team can use to make their crossing just that little bit easier. It's coming in behind. That's Team Doom we're looking at the last 2 from Nexus. Even Ruthless Esports, all the way in the southeast side, are going to have to make their way north. At the moment, there are still, I think, at least 2 teams down south near Sami on this game who have yet to make their way up.
Yeah, so you've got MUERTE, who's down there with only that 1 player after the unfortunate fight they took with Take Aim Gaming earlier.
Uh-oh. An immediate run down there. And now Octavian back into the mix for Nexus after taking a little sabbatical yesterday. Popping some nades over, last standing for the squad. ARB should be just fine here. Octavian really doesn't want to go down. Now's the time to prove your mettle. Another nade over the top, over towards Hamodi, who's got the Groza in hand. I think that was the Groza, unless I was mistaken. Could be. Over the top. Oh, it was the QBZ, not the Groza. that part. Wait, no, that is the Groza. I'm not making it up. Octavian around the side, UMP not strong enough. There's the off angle from Wadea, and that gets shut down.
I like that the elusive Groza really gave you some huge problems there.
Really did. I'm going to be honest, that was not good.
I mean, with the amount of attachments you can whack on the QBZ, it makes sense to hold on to that as your long-range weapon. And then there's only limited attachments you can throw on the Groza, but that thing hits like a truck and is absolutely accurate, but it's better suited towards that close to mid-range, right? So I think that's still a fairly decent setup, especially coming over towards that Northwest Island, where you are going to have a lot of these close-range engagements that are dictated by the rocks and the mountainside that's around. So not a bad thing to hold on to if you are ARB. They've decided to move over towards the top side. Take Aim Gaming hasn't moved yet. I mean, if you're one of these teams, you're almost hoping that will come down towards the south side towards you. You don't really want to get into the mix. A lot of these teams don't seem to be aware that, you know, Camp Alpha and all the compounds on the western side completely free. And, you know, Take Aim Gaming is not going to go over towards it. Now, I respect that from the guys on the eastern side of the Northwest Island, just purely because these are more difficult compounds to hold on to. And should it shift over towards the west, you know, you've got free reign. There's literally so many different houses, so many different compounds and shacks that you can take the pick of. And at that point, you know, you just try and find somewhere for yourself and don't really worry about the other teams in the circle in that time being.
I think 4 Romanian men, by the way, went all the way around the east side of Sanhok from the southwest point. They went all the way around the east and came in over Cow towards now, swimming towards Harten. That's quite the botation.
They're here. So life's good. Life's happy for the 4 Romanian men. I'm surprised they made it, to be quite frank.
There's only 2 of them.
There is only 2 of them, yeah, and they swam it in from quite far, but it's the docks that they'll be heading towards in Hattin, and they should be able to find some cover there. You know, the beachhead, a little bit small. Ooh, okay, so this is definitely an interesting circle when we can keep our eyes on, because this really does favour those guys over towards that eastern side. And you almost want to say that one of these teams will now win if they play their cards right.
Na'Vi do have oversight over the whole thing, though, and if they can hold out that west side, there's potential for them to roll down effectively on those compounds, although it is really, really quite difficult in that sort of area. The bottom of those cliffs is really quite open, and there's not a lot of cover to leverage on that descent.
You can definitely head towards the ridge sides, though, on the east, looking down towards those compounds. That's occupied by Pioneer and Eastern Stars. And I think this is the first time Na'Vi's had a full force squad to try and go for something like this and control it, and haven't been sent away. Game Lord have just absolutely sent it, packing straight towards Shockwave, hoping that it's open. It's unfortunately not. And now they're just going to be peppered by so many bullets whilst looking for somewhere to stay. Luckily, they've got a fast vehicle in hand and quickly get indoors, which is your best option in this situation.
Yeah, they managed to find just a shack on the side of the road, but it will be their sanctuary for the time being. They went straight through. I think they were in the south side of Hartin. I think they went straight through the canyon.
Yeah, it was speedy.
Somewhere. It was very, very fast, and it's pretty fast cleanup here from the MADBULLS, finding a third as well. Xiao now all of a sudden left wondering where the hell his team has just gone. Effect, cooking the nade, wants to go around the side, and Xiao put down. MADBULLS, that was very, very fast.
Yeah, that was kind of unfortunate there, John, to be honest. He just got blown over. Quickly fell to the floor. Made a paper of those lads today, apparently. But MADBULLS clean up that fight so efficiently. And TJB didn't even feel like they fought back there. And it has felt a little bit like that for, you know, the past at least 5 matches, John. Not sure what's happening with TJB. Pocus, though, swings around the side, does find one player from Team Doom. This is over towards the south side, so, you know, it's going to be a lot of these teams just battling it out for some kind of position within the circle. Big has actually moved up towards Tambang. Take Aim Gaming left that position, and now it's looking to maybe cross over the river. You can see it on the right side of your screen. Thank you very much, observers. We love you. But Big could head over towards that bridge and make it across quite easily, considering there's absolutely no teams holding onto it. And I think if I was in Big situation, I hear the fighting, maybe I just move.
I like the 2-2 split that they've got going on for Big to make that progression as well. But Ruthless Esports, Team Doom, VIRTUS.PRO are not too far away, but I don't think they want anything to do with it just yet. So we'll have to wait and see if they pull up on this. Nano Baby getting rezzed. Nade over the top from Zero. Does find damage, but doesn't stop it. Might try and put another one a little bit closer on the mark. Old Boy pulls up on the top of a hill and Mind shuts it down almost immediately. No reses going to be available as the next circle centers up fully on the northwestern island.
Yeah, you almost needed some aggression there from VIRTUS.PRO, but Take Aim Gaming does disengage away from the Team Doom fight, as well as Ruthless Esports. It's an unfortunate timing as well, because just as they do that, you're seeing VIRTUS.PRO trying to take advantage of the situation, assuming it's two teams fighting. That's all you can really do with the information you're given, old boy.
Ooh. Not winning out on the duel. Mind able to take him down a second time. The res did go through, but VIRTUS.PRO double up on the loss for Old Boy pulling up out in the open. I'm not entirely sure that was sensible. Not too sure what they were waiting for. Maybe a call on where to go over the other side of the river, but it's difficult to know. And now they've paid the price. Only one player remaining for them, Yankee.
Know what you can do with just a singular, but a lot of these players and teams being so close by, it's going to be pretty tough for him to find his way in. Dadaev, though, I have faith. As unfortunate Ruthless Esports are just being held up. I have faith in Dadaev, considering that he was able to loot up practically the entirety of Sami by himself, which is probably one of the hottest spots when it comes to picking up medical supplies. We do get our quick little predictions coming in. Jason and Maxman agree that Shockwave might be able to take this one, and Claris goes with Na'Vi. Now, I think Na'Vi's an interesting one to take here. And I think that, you know, with their split they're currently holding, they're trying to keep back a lot of these players on the western side, but they do play these dangerous splits very, very often. Now, I would be worried about their front man, who's over towards MADBULLS at the moment. I believe that is Tixi. So he does really need to be careful, especially with how aggressive Tixi can be. He might just be poking the bee's nest here.
Well, here's the thing, right? The MADBULLS are in that canyon, so there's no real sight lines if Tixi doesn't peek, so it is always going to be on him, right? Na'Vi going to be tested, I think, more likely from the south here on Big. Kitsune, with this push-up, going to be listening out for it. They should know that there's going to be someone up here. The question is, what route do they take?
Yeah. It would be a pretty cruel fate to go down to Big, considering they dropped on the south side. It's like, yeah, your doom was always coming. This time we've just delayed it by about 15 minutes. We'll see what they can do. I still think there's a world where Na'Vi might be able to head over towards the ridge side, but with that circle that just pops now, Shockwave have a real good chance at this game. And now it's up to Na'Vi to really take advantage of this high ground, get as much done as possible from here, and then attempt to get into the circle. It will require smokes, and it will require some very good timing. But I think for Na'Vi, it's the real question, do we want to make a mess in this circle right now, or do we want to take it silent and hopefully sneak by Shockwave before they even know we're here?
I think the question that Na'Vi are going to have to ask is, do they let people push onto Shockwave's compound, right? Or do they just keep suppressing fire going? If they let people fight amongst themselves, yeah, that's right. I think that's the path that they're going to be looking for. Look at this. Silent grasshoppers, Big, playing around the side.
Yeah. Just needs one with a violin now. Unfortunately, I would give them away. They do spot them, though. See them hopping around. It's first they drop to the floor. He thinks he's going down here. Eastern Star is getting taken down by Pioneer right on the eastern side. This is the team that moved early off boot camp. Now Na'Vi's having to make a sprint for it. They know they need to get into the circle. They have to do this alongside Big, who are currently still just jumping their way through. They will have looted just a little bit, but Na'Vi really didn't have a lot of time to get a ton of loot on board.
Take Aim Gaming getting shut down out in the open, as are ARB.
This is a good chance.
Brutal affair on the south side, it really is, but there's a knockover towards Na'Vi. I think one of their players did get knocked. I think it was a player from Big. Take Aim Gaming spotted in the meantime. Navi still have 4 alive, and there is some backup close to the position, but Big are encroaching. Shockwave will have to leave their compound. They will have to move south, but Big are starting to take control here.
It's a little bit. It's a nice knock from SHOCKWAVE, an important knock as well, especially when they already have circle prio. Being able to hold them out in the blues, you can already see it's having a huge effect on Na'Vi. That one knock has just been a domino, and now Na'Vi's getting ripped to shreds here, and Beast is able to make his way and anchor in the circle. Shockwave has to move, but not before Pioneer sees them, and will just be absolutely tearing them apart at the seams as they try to make their way out of this compound. Big somehow have still been the northwestern presence whilst being all the way on the south side of the map.
I don't know how they've managed it. I mean, they're going to be very familiar with this ground. They've fought on it before. They've fought for it before. They're fighting into it now. Mihi on the sidelines, misses the spray, and Kitsune wants to take charge of it. We'll be able to get the flush as well, bringing Beast down to just SHOCKWAVE as an ally. And Big fall just a little bit. Na'Vi still have the res potential there if the crawl is good, but Shockwave are moving up to the ridgeline as well. Kitsune cutting down people out in the open, and it's a little bit more even now. Tixi, resable here. Are they out inside the zone? I think they are, and they have cover.
Just about. Mihi was really the key player. He had to step up and do something big, and he's absolutely been always the clutch player of the team. So they send him up top side whilst the 2 players underneath will take some advantageous positioning, right? Again, though, Matic, only 2 first aid kits, no nades on board, just 2 smokes. So coming down from here is going to be a problem. There's also Haluju sending in a nade, but oh my god, it bounces off some part of the rock and goes flying, and SHOCKWAVE saved by the bell there. Matic moves down.
He's relying on cover from teammates. He really has no cover from the broadside, but he's allowing his teammates to cover off that rock. They know he's there. Nightmare might go unnoticed in this scenario. Shockwave at the back there with their solo. Dadaev did die in the meantime, Blank, so no miracle runs this time around. We are looking at all our teams in the circle. Beast flushed out. SHOCKWAVE now under pressure. Take Aim Gaming at the back. Will be healing a little bit further out. No more first aids for Nightmare. Now he needs to try and take this fight or put some other teams down. Take Aim Gaming might be able to spot it if they crest the ridge, but SHOCKWAVE is suffering. And Na'Vi are swinging out. It looked a little bit hair-raising for a while, but they have managed to take that control back. 3 players alive. 1 does get spotted. Nightmare in the grass, and a second as well. Oh. Nightmare turning it around for Shockwave. It could all come crumbling down. It's just Matic now. And only 1 player from Take Aim Gaming goes down out in the blue to the heel, and it's a 1 versus 1. Kitsune crawling back. You need to just stick this res, and you need these sightlines to be controlled.
That is the absolute advantage of hard cover here. Be able to grab your teammate and bring him back up again. Now it is just down to 2 massive performance coming through from Shockwave, but what more can he do? Does reposition, tries to get some suppressing fire down. In the meantime, Tixi takes high ground, will reveal his spot. Great play from Tixi in the end there. Just to add to the end game, even knocked, and that's what you need to do. And this is why Na'Vi's so good at those close quarters fights, John, where it comes down to team play. You know, that entire time he was just crawling over towards the tower to try and get some more info on this player underneath. Now that's what makes me really like PUBG Mobile, I'll tell you that now. You know who else really loves PUBG Mobile right now? It's Kalaris. Very, very good prediction from him, honestly. Unfortunately for the guys, Shockwave were in a spot where a lot of teams were looking at them, and the circle moves away. It is curtains. I think it could have gone either way, though, but I think Na'Vi does play that out strongly. I think the real MVP of that match, though, for me, in terms of just the MVT in this team, most valuable team, would be Big, though. What a performance from them to get toward where they went. They also made some really cool moves, even sending Mihi topside whilst getting anchors underneath on tower and the hard cover. You know, that was just a Hail Mary play. It's either Mihi takes 2 of them down, they win the game off the back of that, or it all goes horribly wrong. But I respect it because they were playing for the win at the end of the day.
Na'Vi find the final wind to be able to get themselves over that finish line just towards the end. Kitsune, 4 eliminations. But you're right, it felt like there were a couple of times where Na'Vi were slipping. Just that little bit. They did pull it back together because they are just that good. But there were some of those opportunities. I mean, their push, their regroup down towards the southeast of those ridge lines, I feel like was a little bit haphazard potentially. Big were able to sneak in there. They didn't really control that ground as effectively as they could have done with 4 potentially, but in the end, they did manage to keep themselves alive at 3, use that numbers advantage, put Big on the back foot, and take things back into control right up until that last moment. That felt a little bit wild, but Nightmare did finally go down.
Breaking my heart here, John, and Shockwave breaking it as well. Claris, go ahead and say what you were going to say. Let's get that out of the way here before we talk about the last match. Oh, that's not where I thought you were going with it. I thought you were going to call me out on my prediction. But anyways, no, I guess we'll move on from it since you didn't talk about it. But yeah, Na'Vi take the win, and we've been wondering where the heck have Na'Vi been this entire time? Well, Claris was a believer. He's a blesser. And Na'Vi, of course, get the win because of it.
Yeah, so Na'Vi didn't make it easy on themselves, I'm going to be honest. Like, I think that could have been even easier for them had they regrouped a little earlier throughout all of this. They caused me some panic attacks throughout it. I always basically go by a very common rule, which when it comes to the Northwest Island, which is go for the team that's up on the high ground. And usually it does pay dividends. And even here, it paid dividends when they were very spread for a long time. I thought maybe, you know, Kitsune down towards the bottom would get picked off. He didn't buy big, despite their really great push up to that position. So, I mean, kudos for Na'Vi to be able to hold the way that they did and recover the way that they did in those final moments.
Yeah. It even got to the point where they were even getting knocked by the blue, right? I believe Tixie got knocked by the blue, at one point, showing how long it took for them to start leaving that position. They would have done it a lot earlier. I think they could have gone to bed the spot a little bit sooner, and they would have been 100% sure to confirm that win. Nightmare gave them a few like cold sweats down their backs there for a second, but they were able to convert it, and we finally see a Na'Vi win, which is good to see. Potentially the start of the momentum that we wanted to see from Na'Vi here.
Yeah, this is where Na'Vi shows up and wins 4 chicken dinners on the day. Every single match they're playing to become first place. You can see Take and Gaming, though. Max, you brought them up. Doing fairly well here as well. 8 eliminations, 10 placement points. This is a fantastic showing for them.
Yeah, I'm looking back on their stats previously on all their Sanhoks, and they are really good when it comes to the heal strat. Like, they're the new TJB 2.0 from the Western European region, it does seem. And, I mean, yeah, they're efficient. They know the heal strat is really good. I have the impression what Take Aim Gaming do really well is they don't use it as their main strat. They still have it available for them. And they just try and play the game, and when they're like, okay, we can't enter the circle, we don't have the numbers anymore, then they commit to the heal strat. It is purely a plan B, and it works a lot of the time for them. So yeah, Take Aim Gaming, I think that they are doing the heal strat the way it should be done, which is not your main playstyle, it's just a secondary option, and so far, it's been going well.
What about Big, though, Claris? We talked about Na'Vi and Big, particularly at the start of the day. Wanted to see them step up here. Yeah, it's not a chicken dinner, but it's 13 points, and that's a good sign here out of Big.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of going back to the drawing board here for them for this Sanhok, and it's kind of a cool start to it all things considered. We know this team as a team that absolutely voraciously will go for that west coast on the North Island, but you know, Na'Vi has been taking up more room than them in some of these previous games, so maybe a little bit of a change, having dropped down south and working their way up. I like the transitions that they were able to make. They were patient, they were calculated, considering that they knew teams would be coming in from that south side, and it did pay off quite nicely. Just not for the full conversion, but very nice indeed.
Yeah. Looking down the list, though, we do have MADBULLS take 2 more points. I think they were on 6, NEXUS Stars on 4, so lengthening their lead at the top of the table by an extra 2, so they should be at 32 points in the lead. VIRTUS.PRO, though, 0, unfortunately. So NEXUS Stars will be ahead of them as we take a look at some of the highlights here. And a lot of action, actually, in this match. Quite a bit here out of teams that were maybe kind of unexpected. MUERTE, as we talked about at the start of the day, not having a great match here, but again, it is Sanhok, and sometimes it just be like that.
I want to jump back on you talking about VIRTUS.PRO here. They had a very odd split. They went for, I believe it was Camper, which I did.
They had Barn as well as a team split up towards the top. They could have
had like a camp on the east. They had Barn split over there, and I don't think it was intentional from TJB because that's not really a TJB move to do on Sanhok, but they just dropped. There was one player of VIRTUS.PRO instantly take him down. I think the VIRTUS.PRO need to review that split. I don't think it's something that's going to work out efficiently. You can go to Mongnai, for example. Mongnai is free if you want to go for a similar split without being really contested in the early game. It's a bit weird, but here in the finishing moments, you can see that high ground. I was really doubtful they could actually move down from this location, but all the teams are just in the open. They can easily just take a few pot shots at them and then just remain as a 3-man. So Nightmare scaring them a little bit at the end, but they're just able to keep the 2 players alive there.
This is the weird thing about VIRTUS.PRO's position, or in fact any team's position when it comes to Sanhok right now, because TJB is still doing this roaming thing where they're still a little undecided as to exactly where they are dropping at any given time. Nobody's safe. Unfortunately, and VIRTUS.PRO became the victim here when it comes to that kind of wider split. I mean, you need to identify when you're dropping, okay, is anybody dropping over towards Camp Bravo, for example, in this lobby, given that nobody was, and then maybe just kind of veering off and taking that spot. But it gets a bit treacherous and dangerous with TJB roaming the way they currently are.
Okay, well, I do want to hop away from TJB, though, really quickly and take a look at Na'Vi and their player stats from the whole event, because I want to see, particularly on their team, who's been standing out for them, because we've normally seen in the past, yeah, Matic, we've seen Tixi as well. I think Tixi was originally like the big star of the team after Kitsune when it came to last season. But we can see here, I mean, damage across the board is pretty similar between, you know, Matic, Tixi, and Kitsune, just a little bit behind. But this is what I was saying before. If you compare them to likes of like maybe Unicorns of Love, where they have one star player, this team, everyone on this team is a star player, which is why we've been so critical about them not performing well so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all expected Na'Vi to have a little bit of a more heated start, especially with how the scrims went, and like, okay, the scrims went really well, should potentially convert to some extent into the actual tournament of PMPL, but it didn't quite happen. But they're a team that I believe is willing to make changes, right, and they're going to get there eventually. The first phase, as I gave it the same limit of time for like TJB, I think that the first phase is a good like testing ground. After the first phase, you really need to start finding some consistency. So Na'Vi, they get there. As long as they get a good phase 2 and phase 3, they can like be pretty comfortable heading in the finals.
Okay, well, cool. Gentlemen, it is time to head into our second match of the day now, as we have Erangel coming up. Can't wait to see what's going to happen, and I can't wait to hear the beautiful voices of John Allen and Blake.
Oh, dear. Oh dear. That's not ideal. But yeah, absolutely. I hope so too. I hope you will be able to hear our voices. I hope you can hear my voice.
What are you doing? Are you just phasing in between different locations of the room?
Yeah.
Can't do that. You can only have phase 1, 2, and 3. You've only got 2 phases so far. That's unacceptable.
I'm greedy. What can I say?
You're not greedy. You're not greedy enough. You need phase 4. But right now, you're still stuck in phase 2. But we're right now in phase 1. And we're currently tallying up all these points. We are in day 5 of phase 1. We do have our final day tomorrow coming through. That is day 6 for all those who are wondering. And we will have our Livic played at the end of that day. So the top 12 teams will play out their match for some bonus points coming through into the overalls. And whoever gets the highest overall there will be taking that 20-pointer from the phase 1 home. So heading right into Erangel straight away here and getting things on board. Now, Unicorns of Love back in again. Now, I think that last game where they were able to get the highest elimination count out of the entirety of phase 1 so far has brought some more confidence on board. Now, if I'm Icy, I can, well, I'm not Icy right now. I'm going to be blank, and I'm going to empathize with Icy instead, because if I'm coming from Spring Split, where I don't make it through into all Super Weekends, and despite that, throughout League play and the Super Weekends they played, Icy was able to get a total of 100 eliminations. The only person higher than him was Narvalo with 112, and he played throughout all Super Weekends. So it's a real blow to the mental there, and I think Icy just needs to get back into the game a little bit more confident, have some teammates that can support him, which he absolutely does now. So I think that last game just brings them back to speed. Unicorns of Love realize, you know what, we do have a good team here. We can perform. And so I'm hedging my bets. I'm hedging my bets on Unicorns of Love this time around, okay? I really do want to see them prove me right here. I think that with a little bit of confidence and a little bit more time, this can be a real superstar team.
I mean, Unicorns of Love, for want of a better way of saying it, they are notorious for chopping and changing their roster and just picking up new rosters, right? The fact that they've stuck with this one is really good news.
Icy has remained. Yeah.
To keep some of their guys on board is
one guy.
Well, yeah, you know. Let's see if they can make it work this time around with this new iteration, right? Like it hasn't really given them that chance to develop in the way that we would like to see, because a new roster is always sort of yet to be proven, yet to find a real identity. So we'll wait for that to come through with Icy.
100%. I think that the guys on the desk talked about at the beginning of the day is that they really do have a good supportive unit around them in terms of players, but it looks like they are dropping very close to MUERTE at the moment, who are really the hot drop kings at the moment. No, well, they could be more like the hot drop villains. Fortunately, they do lose a player off the bat here. Yes, Unicorns of Love, prove me right.
I got it right! Yes! That's
all that matters.
What's going on in Blank's mind right now? That would have been so
one elimination is a success, in my opinion.
Wouldn't it have been so... Oh.
No! Stop it! Don't flush him, please. Okay, he's alive.
Definitely going down here.
Oh, no, Gonzo's
definitely going down. There's no other way. There's
coming.
no two ways about it, man. I'll hop into the bike and the spray, and there's another out.
Why have they done this to me?
I'm enjoying this so much.
This has really hurt my feelings.
Time. Oh, this is the best. Oh.
I don't hate MUERTE right now, but...
but they're not your friends.
But they're not my friends. They're not done me right here.
Don't worry.
I think Unicorns of Love will be going out soon.
You can be my friends, MUERTE. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Anyway, moving on swiftly to a new team that I'm going to talk about coming in to this roster, Alvar Lobby. Na'Vi. Now, I think after that last game on Sanhok, they've picked up a lot of momentum there. And, you know, they may have lost Old Boy a while back, but Na'Vi, the players they have, currently very, very strong. And I think they've built this roster around themselves to create something that can really work now. Coming up with the Western Europe teams, this game is where Na'Vi proves me right.
Not last game.
Not last, this game. This game right now.
This game.
Don't show their stats. This is... Why have you done... Thank you. Take that away immediately. Why are you rubbing that in my face? No. Look how well they usually do. 6 eliminations average on Erangel. What's happened?
How many have they got here? 1?
It's not. It's kind of. It's like 1/6 of a success for me.
Oh dear. Do you want to go get a drink of water? Do you want to just go?
I need some form of counselling. To be
maybe a monster.
Stop showing me the replays.
This is the
This is where it's going well.
That's the good one. It's fine.
Yes, but I know what happened after that. Production is having a right time with me right now.
They are baiting you hard.
This is horrific.
Oh. I've never had more fun in the first 5 minutes of a game.
And they've left Sosnovka already. MUERTE's in MUERTE. Why did you drop there?
This is so good.
It's like they heard me.
It's brilliant. Oh dear.
Anyway, I was pleased with MUERTE's performance yesterday. And
they didn't do
I'm
so good.
Angrily pleased with their performance today as well.
Well, their last game wasn't super great. They got shut down fairly early. This one, obviously, they absolutely won their first engagement really, really hard and completely beans the Unicorns of Love. QODEX, though, not so lucky against TJB. Xiao, the only knock sent their way, and they'll be all right with that. There should be some more opportunities to loot up some more armor. Get that repaired.
Absolutely. This is the most confusing start to a game. I mean, you saw what I saw right last game, John, on Sanhok. You were there. You were there with me. We watched TJB practically stand still and then took an uppercut to the face. And the uppercut was so powerful that it sent them straight into Erangel. They just didn't know it started yet. But it also seemed to have woken them up because that rattled the brains and righted things back into place here. So we're back on board with a strong TJB question mark who take that QODEX fairly confidently.
Yeah, they all 4 of them go down. 4 elimination points over towards TJB. They're pretty close to that western bridge where ARB and Shockwave both currently reside. Not on the bridge, but in the vicinity. The bunkers for Shockwave right now. A fairly solid position on the south coast. No one really could be trying to push through with the number of teams that dropped on military base. Maybe they're expecting more to push down in from the south, but everybody is either dead or gone up the east bridge from the military island.
Yeah, no one's really sticking around there, other than Gonzo. Gonzo from Unicorns of Love still there. he will succeed. I don't know. He's going to bring it home. He might not be able to heal it out here on Erangel, but I think he might do some snaking. He might do some good snaking, but we'll see. Looking at the circle, though, and time to do some actual analysis. Fielded area, very rough to play around. Na'Vi currently with a 4-man split, so quite bold. You know, obviously didn't hear the guys from the desk either, where they wish they'd regroup sooner. But they're just getting a lay of the land right now. There's some teams that are very close to them. That's Nexus, Redox, probably running through. And Na'Vi's still just encircling in the vehicles, just trying to figure out where players are around here. But this is a big split, as you can see. They don't have huge sightlines around one another. And now Na'Vi are considering where to head to next. Obviously, Kitsune starts things off strong versus a full-man squad. That's XTEAM over on that side. So quickly, Meku comes in for backup.
Na'Vi have rotated really fast. I mean, they came down from North George. I mean, okay, maybe not really, really fast, but they started in North George.
Fast.
And their West Coast rotations in general, I said this in the game before, I feel like I'm being quite impressed by. It's where they land that tends to be the issue. Oh, Meku! Ooh, behind the headland, stays alive for now. But their decision-making in terms of timing, I feel, is good. It's their positional, rotational decisions that sometimes get them caught out. Luckily, they are all 4 alive. They can regroup should they choose to.
This is very, you know, relaxed gameplay from Na'Vi at the moment. One might also say, I don't care gameplay, as they just razz it past 8 different teams to locate what they've now called the best position. They've tried out all the other homes, and they had the Goldilocks effect of one was just a little bit too small, one was too large, and this one is just right now towards that side. They still have a player that's off in the distance just underneath Gatka, but a lot of teams looking to centralize themselves up around Quarry, assuming this is most likely going to head down further towards southwest, which is an apt decision. App prediction as well from them, just considering we were most likely going to move away from Sosnovka, and the only other area it could have really centralized on was Quarry, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, you have the chance that it goes down towards the bridge for this circle, but again, like you say, it's just way more likely that this mainland will be the final resting place of this game. Take Aim Gaming, coming down from the northeast side. Yet to exit the blue. We'll be rotating fairly close to MUERTE. Toffee's just about to reach that blue zone on the northeast side. Eastern Stars still out to the east of Yasnaya Polyana, so still a team out in that northeast side, and yet to make their way fully on through. TJB holding around the bridge on the west, with the last player for Unicorns, Gonzo, still on the military island on the north side of it. Will have to leave fairly soon.
Just don't talk about him. Just let him do his thing. Don't put him under any more pressure. It's really unfair of you, John.
He's going to do great.
Thank you. That's what I needed to hear. And, okay, just don't talk about him. Ignore him.
He's going to do great.
Not even there.
And you're really clever, and we really love having you on the broadcast. And you add so much. Most of that was sincere, but I said it in an insincere way.
Yeah, thank you, dude. That's exactly what I needed to hear. In not the way I wanted to hear it. But TJB, again, like you said, on that western bridge. Now, I don't know, again, I'll reiterate, because if you weren't here at the start of the game, you missed out some great bants, for one, in which case you should go back on the YouTube feed and rewatch. Very funny, tell you that now. However, TJB was suddenly just the gods of the lobby for a brief second. And just obliterated QODEX. And QODEX is not a pushover of a team.
VIRTUS.PRO finding Death Machine. Neither pushovers of teams, but it is the first down for Death Machine. 3 players alive there, just north of the chopsticks. So Old Boy sends out wide. Be getting some scouting done. Death Machine disengage or look to from this fight, but Big are actually out to their west now. So a little bit of a sandwich going on.
You know, one thing I've really appreciated about watching the CIS teams come into the Western European region, just where it contrasts with some of the teams we've seen in this region for a long, long time is just the decisiveness of their pushes and the aggression, right? If they want to take a compound, then everyone's on board with that and they will just rush in. So you saw it just there with Chulika, who, you know, moves in and NASA's trying to back up and send for maybe an angle on the door, but Chulika's just running forward. And NASA's like, aren't we meant to like third-party peek each other for a little bit first before we start fighting? Chulika's like, no, I'm playing in first person right now.
I'm busy. I've got things to do.
Yeah, get out of my compound.
I've got a date with a chicken dinner later. Got to get it done, you know? So? Middle of the circle, RV, Nexus, Ruthless Esports, currently holding that position. But there's a hard shift up to the northwest. And RV now on the edge. Big, slap bang in the center. Looking at the Everest Foothills compounds now as being potentially solid places to go. If you're... Maybe a team like Death Machine could look to go up that way.
Could do, potentially. I think it's one of those cases where, you know, you are 3 down. You're right there that this might be a case of just survival. But Death Machine tends to play very well when they're slap bang in the center. And they make do with it. And they just turn into those 360 turrets, try to take down as many people as possible. Now, Nexus, who Na'Vi aggravated earlier, are back again, but Meku just as speedy, but 2 knocks right off the bat, John.
One going either way between these two teams. Octavian down, Matic down. One for Nexus, one for Na'Vi, but a second found. Nade through the window, Meku is on the money, and Tixi absolutely decimated. That off angle, seemingly completely unknown, and Nexus tear Na'Vi more than a new one. They find the old ones and get more bullets sent their way. Kitsune spraying over the wall, the last hope for Na'Vi, but they're dismounted. 2 knocks over back towards Nexus. Good noise. Appropriate.
Big after that last game on Sanhok. Are the new ones I believe in.
RV, prove you right this game.
Big will prove me right. Look at this compound they currently hold. This time it's a much quicker rotation from them. They look a lot more confident after that last Sanhok. Just weren't able to quite bring it home, but, you know, this might be just what they need to take a chicken dinner in this match as a full format.
Can't wait for them to die.
Why? Just let me have this.
I think that's against my contract, I'll be honest.
I don't know what's going on here, but I have made many poor decisions this game.
I don't think you have. This is the thing. I don't think you have. I think it's...
I feel analytically correct, you know. In theory, just absolutely horrible shenanigans have occurred, you know. I've gone to the firing range, the gun's jammed, you know, the mag won't come out, and the barrel's completely busted. And I came here just assuming this was where I was promised a well-functioning weapon in Unicorns of Love, and I was proven terribly wrong by the hot drop villains of MUERTE.
It's true. And
Na'Vi, look, did you see their position? It was good. They looked like they were having a great time. Meku came in with an instant regroup, and they just left themselves open, which is very un-Na'Vi-like.
It was. I mean, they should have been aware of this crash from Nexus for a while, right?
Is everyone in on this?
Maybe.
Is this a conspiracy against blank?
It's an anti-blank conspiracy?
Okay, I like that.
Fair enough.
That's its new name on my website, www.antiblankconspiracy.com.
.org.gov.net UK.
Because I couldn't quite get the actual name.
That's right. It's very sad.
I will say one thing, Shockwave are maintaining their presence from yesterday, which is pleasing to see.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, XTEAM still are on that southwest edge, still can prove some stuff to us. Last Sanhok game, you know, that was a bold push.
Nades from Ruthless Esports, TJB, who looked a little bit stronger early. Can they ride that wave on through. No knocks sent their way just yet. Put one out towards GK first. A pivotal member, unfortunately, for TJB. Getting that knock in one spray, two spray. GK first starting to ramp up now. Ruthless Esports around the side. Only two of them there. Xiao, Lin in the building in front of GK first. Nano wants to go around the side, finds Lin open. Goes for the flush as well. Will be able to claim that if he's not cut down in the meantime. Has to find cover on the backside. Tingsker knocked as well. Hang on a minute. Here comes Take Aim Gaming crashing into the fight. GK first has a lot more to do. And handedly taken out one of the players from Take Aim Gaming, but Xiao not so lucky. It is just GK first now in this fight.
It's gone very poorly. Now GK first has got to show us what he's made of. And he is made of very, very steely stuff.
No.
Fortunately, the grenade does blast straight through that. And TJB are taken down. That is an unfortunate crunch that they fall prey to there. They did look extremely confident. And I think there's a point where confidence does become maybe carelessness at some point.
Potentially. I mean, it's difficult. You're wanting to potentially leave a compound. Ruthless rolls up on you. You have to take the fight. Take Aim Gaming, roll up on that fight as well. It could be that they didn't want to be there for the last 40 seconds, but they were forced to stay. Ruthless Esports now out of the frying pan into the firing line. Salazar will be the last to fall. Ruthless Esports down.
Nexus, though, 8 eliminations after what seemed very hairy out in the Gatka fields. Now Keme. This is all the way from the north side of Yasnaya, by the way. They're on the southwest side of the map. They do have 3 players, but they're currently trying to take down XTEAM just in nade range. This is where it becomes a bit difficult for XTEAM, considering they don't have a whole lot of cover, and also there is nades available with the knock that's still down. Good shots, though, will take down Keme. Shockwave hear this.
Potentially looking to roll up on this hillside and take out 2 teams. It seems like 3-way fights have been the stalwart presence of this lobby, of this match so far. Nightmare spotted in the grass, but will he be able to get the knock? No, Trazen wins out of that duel and in a forwards position. Nightmare might be able to get the flush, but it is refragged there by Aza. The crawl back from Trazen, potentially going all the way to the tower. They know they're going to have to leave on this hard shift.
Yeah, Bazzi just has to send away. There's too many teams over here. Shockwave got themselves into a nasty, precarious problem that they'll have to now deal with, as they're very far out the blue. And Big will prove me right, okay? That I promise that it's coming. The big win is on its way.
And Nexus crashing them, and they're all dead.
It's not happened yet. Stop looking at the script.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, that's page 57. We're supposed to be on page 56, right? Yeah, okay. Just getting my...
It's re-recorded, isn't it? It's pre-recorded.
Oh, it's all...
You've already done this game to trick me.
It's all a farce, isn't it?
It really is. I'm saying it right now. Somehow Shockwave are able to get all members back up on their feet, and we're not too many teams surrounding them. They should just be able to get out of dodge. Omar, I will say, for the Arabian Champions, had a pretty good run for himself. Pretty pleased with his performance recently. Unfortunately, Shockwave have just a lot of vehicles. Just send it in. How do you get across the death fields, though? That's the real question.
It is going to be tricky, right? You're going to be relying on speed and precision in terms of where you crash into. You kind of have to commit to a fight before you make your rotation in this scenario.
Yeah. Oh. No one saw that. But I did. And now I know that you guys planned this whole game.
What? No, didn't happen. Sorry, what was that? You couldn't... You were... disconnect...
Shockwave having a real rough time now. And again, it is the case. They sent directly central, which I feel like is maybe not the best play. I would have rather they took their chance with the Arabian champions and sent up towards the west and maybe just try to hide in the vehicles away from Pioneer. Big do find a shot onto Pioneer and are rushing them.
Oh, they're
Come
going
on,
in.
lads.
This could be the fight. SHOCKWAVE, Beast around the corners of the building. Black-White is down for Pioneer on the defense. Nade in through the window as in comes Mihi as well to try and enter into this fight, enter into the spirit of it all. The flush on the nade is good, and SHOCKWAVE gets knocked as well. Big, they're crumbling. Blank, it's bad news for the Bear Paws. Mihi down as well, and Big are dead.
Why? How do you lose to... Where are the smokes? Where is the anything? This is also very unbig-like.
Pretty small, really.
Yes, so small. So tiny-whiny.
Technical term.
Okay. Yeah, very technical term there.
Modi.
Yeah. Dunzo. There's a great shot from Pioneer, actually. I don't get to take this away from Pioneer. I think they've played a good game so far. And they're not going to prove me right. I think they've proved themselves to be a better team that can take chicken dinners here on Erangel. And this is probably the best storyline. Anyway, I'm not going to say that because they haven't taken the chicken dinner yet, okay? I will not curse them. I've cursed 3 teams.
I like Nexus for this one, I'm going to be honest.
Okay, yeah.
It's my feeling.
Stop the great cursing of blank.
That's right. You're worse than Max, honestly. 3 in 1 game is very impressive. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
SHOCKWAVE spotted out by players of Nexus. Their location now known. Looks like they don't have much cover, but they do have a sort of a slow decline of terrain away from them, which gives them some rolling cover. If they get spotted on the stand-up, it will be difficult to get back into it, but that's a really well-placed nade over towards Hakoni. Aza doesn't really want to stand up, doesn't want to make that dash. That is a good nade, and it's right on the vehicle as well. The flush is there. Aza repositioned another one, a little bit deeper.
That's a bobbler.
That's all the way in. Octavian. Wow, okay.
Yeah, bringing it back in. 13 eliminations so far for Nexus to the 10 of Pioneers. I think the 10 eliminations for Pioneers is the big thing that we need to pay attention to, though, because this is a very, very high elimination game for them. We don't really generally see this. This is a nice line they've set up 2. Mitsu has been spotted, though, which is a bit awkward, but does have cover to play around with, and they are also in the circle. There is a knock that goes back Nexus's way. They do have a small problem in terms of Bazzi, but you can't imagine that he's going to make too much noise.
No, he's just going to try and keep the head down in the bush. Wait for these 2 teams to fight off against one another. Maybe pull the second place out the bag. 0 eliminations for Eastern Stars. 10 points on the placement. That's good enough. You take that.
Yeah, don't need those eliminations. Get them out of here. Both teams just waiting for the next circle now. It really will be. Again, okay, Nexus have to be quick on this. It has to be a swift push in. Equally, all the guys from Pioneer got into vehicles and then kind of fought better against it and now have to smoke up. Luckily, they are on the uphill, so they will have a little bit of cover available to themselves. But no nades for Bazzi. I would like to see how much utility the guys from Pioneer have. So unfortunate the circle centers on Bazzi as well. But luckily, no one really wants to get too close to that central area anyway, and he's still quite invisible.
There is a buggy there, though, which might be a nade target.
Yeah, might be
Pioneer specifically.
quite the giveaway, yeah. In fact, that right there is a dead giveaway. Yeah, that is not getting naded. As you can see, Octavian already picks one out of the bag, thinks about it, and then shuffles back on over. Fash picks up the Groza. This is going to be he really has to perform well with that Groza right now, just because it will be instantaneous knocks. And if you are able to transfer or find a player that's shooting your way, that Groza is going to be instrumental.
Nade. Is that to the buggy? I think it is. Oh, Octavian knows. 7 frags as well. He has the resource to expend another one.
7? He's been prepping for these final moments.
Oh, everyone's sending nades in.
Yeah. Oh, he's so low. Yeah. Get rid of that guy.
First aid. There we go.
He's done. He starts to take 3rd place, though. It's not bad, considering coming from northern Yasnaya down to southwest and the circle shifts up towards the north. It is difficult. Pioneer are pretty close together. That does worry me slightly. Playing as a double unit, it's not bad because you can quickly try and refrag one another. Octavian in the vehicle. You'd imagine this is just scouting purposes. As soon as they breach this ridgeline is where things are going to get tricky. Smoke does reveal some of the location, but they're just trying to isolate these really, really edge players here. You can see EXO on the side, as well as our other player right on the right side as well. So if they can isolate these two main targets, should be able to get some pretty quick knocks in here, John. So Redox has to be really careful with this position.
Circle is right in between these two teams as well. So no one really has hard shift towards them. It is just a matter of winning out this firefight. Smoke's utility being burned.
Well, Nexus is clumped now. They're just tossing. That's a lot of nades they're expending. And you've got to wonder how many they're holding on to. Pioneer's being really patient. That is close. We'll get a little bit of information coming out from that one. Smoke's absolutely everywhere, and I think Pioneer's just biding their time. It's not a bad idea, and I think Nexus may have just gone a little bit too early on this.
Those nades, sure, they're not really hitting their mark, but they are isolating places where Pioneer aren't, right? So you could start.
They know they're further back, yeah.
They know they're further back now because they got a long-range nade in. They know they're sort of towards the middle of their arc of fire. So they can focus towards there.
The buggy, we said it before, it's a dead giveaway. And by dead giveaway, I mean it's the type of thing that makes you dead. Nade over the top. That's a fair bit of damage over towards Fash, but not quite enough to really cause issues. This is going to be a full-blown firefight. It's going to be instantaneous. Now, Black-White has to hit a good nade hit. That one's really on target. It's only a Molotov, but it will cause huge damage onto these players.
And stop that progression. That's huge. Two players down for Nexus. Another nade put over the top towards Doran. Can he stand up in the forefront? No. And Nexus are crumbling, but two knocks down, sent back their way. Doran on the forefront. It finds another as well. 1 versus 1 now between these two teams. Right in the middle. There's cover. Doran's healing. Pioneer, can they go for the res? Doran gets that full heal off. Sees Fash in the wheat. Goes for the spray, and it's Nexus to take it home. Finally shutting it down. It all popped off in a moment, Blank, but it is going to be Nexus to take down Pioneer with a massive elimination game.
I mean, Doran out in the wheat fields, you know, he goes to barely 10 HP, greets the Grim Reaper for a second, asks him to borrow the scythe so he can continue just mowing down the wheat and mowing down the Pioneers in those final moments. Goodness me, and unfortunately, Pioneers are not able to clutch out that win, and the dead giveaway buggy turns out to be the savior at the end of the day, John, so something crazy happens there, and Fash is not able to take the shots just underneath. The buggy's too low. I think that Pioneers stepped up too early. They got a little bit too excited there. We're ready to finish the game, but unfortunately for them, you know, Nexus, they're not done until they're done. Now, that is a huge step up in performance for Nexus, and it looks like they've kind of found that winning combo there now with Redox and Octavian in, with Doran as well as EXO. They seem to be really, really good, and that's even considering the awkward start they had. They were hovering around Gatka though, so initially they were in the correct place.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to work out very, very well from them. Nexus, I can't remember which team was it they took down. It was either Big or Na'Vi. I think it was Na'Vi that they managed to take a really effective fight against in the midst of all of that, with the off-angle nades, with the solid spray downs through the window. Really good. I mean, it's the time to do it, right? They have still got an opportunity to launch themselves up these tables, right? They started a little bit low. Good news.
It's just funny to me, honestly, considering, you know, I picked all the teams that, you know, I thought were on the rise. It turns to be the team on the very lowest rung of the ladder who's able to really pull things back up there. We're going to head straight back over the desk now, and we'll see you over in the next game.
Well, you forget the best part of that match was Max predicting Pioneer and Nexus shutting him down at the very end.
this happens just to me. I hate this so much. It's a 3v1 at the end, and Dora's like, I'm gonna stop you right there, okay? It's not okay. I don't know. I mean, he got to the buggy, right? Like, respect is due at that point. He had the buggy, he had the best angle, and he got himself 3 of the eliminations at the end, right? It was supposed to happen when you have such a good spot in a field finish like that, but still, yeah, okay, I'm salty right now.
You did better than us, Max, but it doesn't get you a point. That's the downside for you.
Exactly. Half a point? No? Can we?
No.
No? Okay.
You know what? Let's subtract a point because he's being really needy right now. Trying to get himself a point here somehow. But yeah, obviously we did get to see that match, and more importantly, we get to see, you know, NEXUS. Fantastic match of them. We've seen NEXUS in so many different forms over the last 1.5 to 2 years, and it seems like they found a pretty decent kind of grouping here of players. But again, they still have a lot to push for. They have a lot of points they need to claw back, but NEXUS able to pull things off extremely well. And this drop we were talking about, so awkward. And I think the conclusion you guys came to was they're both just looking to pick up the same vehicles pretty much.
Yeah, I think that was Kalaris' point, actually. Yeah, they were potentially trying to contest for that location. It is weird that at this point we're still seeing these weird clashes happen for, like, you know, some resources like cars or potentially compounds. So definitely something they can learn over moving on forward. But man, some of these fights you just saw during this comeback, like, you were seeing the fights from NEXUS and they were so quick. They eliminated Na'Vi really quickly. They eliminated Death Machine really quickly, and they still survive as a 4-man crew. And they still had a lot of utility at the end. I think we saw, what was it, Octavian here, Kalaris, was 8 eliminations, 8 nades at the very end of that game because they just looted everything. They were the Raptors of the lobby, and they just got all that loot to finish off the game.
Yeah, they were on the warpath with NEXUS, and I think one of the most important things about a field finish like this, when you're seeing this amount of utility still in play, is to know when to go to the buggy. Not necessarily if you need to go to the buggy, but when you go. The reason being is it's very easily in nade range if you go too early, therefore you're just going to get naded out, and it's kind of problematic. But beyond that buggy, there's no official hard cover in a circle like that. So being able to know when to go so that you're, in inverted commas, safe, and then also being able to utilize that for the angles, etc. Very, very well done here by them. They'd already had a blinder of a game, never mind the finish, where, to be fair, I don't think Pioneers should have been able to get to where they did in the circle anyway. I felt like maybe people could have, like, blasted them upon entry, but they were fortunate in their entrance to that, and then from there, NEXUS was able to eventually finish it off. It was close, though.
Okay, well, they finished it off. They got themselves a chicken dinner, some extra cheeky points on their side as well, but we do have a little bit of time until we head into our next match of the day. Early on today, we did learn about how you can be a flanker role, a little bit of description from it. What about the scouting role? Let's go and find out with John Allen once again.
A scout is one of the most crucial roles in the team due to the stakes involved. In competitive PUBG Mobile, enemy teams lie waiting for you with traps in most unexpected places. And when you don't have the zone, looking for a safe space becomes a deadly task. That is why a team needs a player who is experienced in taking the risks of scanning spots from a distance and sharing that necessary intel with the team, so the rest of the members can travel to locations safely. A scout must have superior map knowledge as they search for vantage points in the zone. This not only involves knowledge about every particular angle the location provides, but also avoiding driving through such angles where enemies can easily bring you down. Scouts must scan the target location multiple times before sharing confident intel. Depending on the circle, they might also have to make the decision themselves whether the team must push to a certain location or not. It is recommended to appoint the IGL of the team as a scout, as they can make decisions for the team while having first-hand information to work with. Scouts need to make sure that they always pinpoint the location of interest by using the universal marker, so that teammates don't get lost across different directions and calls get miscarried. Even after landing on a place, if the scout sees the situation is lost, they need to convey the message instantly so that the team rotates away from the location, even if it means leaving the scout alone in front of the enemies. That is why maintaining a distance of at least 100 meters between the scout and the team is a must. As for vehicle choice, the buggy is best suited for scouting, but you can also consider using the Dacia or the UAZ if you're worried about getting stuck in a rough place when enemies pop off your tires. In short, scouting is all about knowing which line to cross and which not to. Watch the pros take it on in the next intense PUBG Mobile esports match.
Oh, okay. So that's what the scout's doing. So normally when I'm the scout for our team, I just end up getting eliminated right away, and then my team's happy about it. But gentlemen, we do have our next match of the day coming up here in just a few seconds. I'm kind of curious to see how things are going to roll down here. We got Miramar, our only one of the day, because we have double Sanhok and double Erangels. What's your guys' thoughts coming into this one? Just real quick.
I still feel like I want to see Game Lord, do well. In the past, Game Lord were a really good Miramar team, and I think that they've been a little bit silent after their first win on the first game of the first phase. So I'd like to see Game Lord potentially step up here on Miramar.
Okay. Well, you know what, Kalaris? You don't need to give your thoughts because you're handsome and you're winning on the prediction game. But you know who does have to give their thoughts? It's our casters, John Allen and Blank.
Well, I, for one, think that Max is a very handsome man as well. I don't know about you, Blank, but, we've got to back up our boy on the desk. He's getting a hard rap there.
Yeah, he's a real cutie, is Max, and that's what it's all about. Look, Max, he's got the big brain and the cute face, and the brain's not so big that it deforms his head, but, actually enhances his head in a way.
All right, Megamind. Let's get into the game. Miramar on the cards for these teams. We're looking for big point games, as we always are, Blank. It's going to be good. It's going to be hot. It's going to be sandy over on Miramar.
I'm not doing any predictions this game because we all know how that goes. Not well, apparently. But we will be heading over. Max says he wants to see a bit more out of Game Lord. I want to see a bit more of Unicorns of Love. I'm not going to really say their name too loudly because...
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, good. I whispered their name. So technically I did say it, but I'm not going to say it anyway.
I think I know who you said. Yeah.
Can you say it? I feel like if you say it, it'll be fine.
Yeah, Unicorns of Love, right?
Yeah, I want to see...
Unicorns of Love.
Do really well, thank you.
Right, okay, got it.
So now we're good to go. We're heading straight to the game. Money Ken's still on top with 36 eliminations for QODEX. And I think that comes a lot from our initial weekend of Phase 1. And he's just piled a few more on top of it, which has been quite uncatchable for a lot of these other teams to get towards that position. The NEXUS do look a lot better after that last one. The question is whether that pace can continue. They did seem to have a very nice idea of what they were doing. But we're in Miramar right now. I'm looking over towards Big, who don't have Pioneer on their tail this time around. It's just Team Doom behind them. So perhaps it's those two teams who are going to start popping off. And RUTHLESS Esports have decided after their nasty run-in, I believe it was a couple of days ago, with Pioneer to just completely not go near Jumasera.
Lane path. Little bit closer to Los Leones this time around. We had a Los Leones finish. I want it. I like it. It was enjoyable. Looking for those hot drops right now, but it looks like we might not see any for the moment. Oh no, XTEAM ARB. Close to each other.
Yes, please. More of that. XTEAM. I like XTEAM recently. They've been real crazy, real slick with it. They just want to try everything out. They're the type of people that go to a buffet and they don't turn their nose up at anything. They come back with 8 plates, and I am a big fan of that kind of behavior. So this time around, they're going to try out hot dropping on top of Arab champions and see how this goes down.
Quietly for now. So it seems. Andy knows there's players over here. ARB are going to know there's players here as well. They'll have seen those parachutes. On the northern side as well, it was a little bit of a mixed area drop between Game Lord and Na'Vi, but they have extricated themselves finally. Shots starting to ring out. Zombie gets a nice little angle with the Scar. Modi spotted.
Oh, you mean scouted?
Yes, Blank, I mean scouted.
Look, man, you did the video, not me.
That's right. Don't you forget it.
I won't. It was unforgettable. Omar, trying to hold this one down. I think that so far, again, I will say that this guy has been fairly big for the team. Hamodi gets away by the skin of his teeth. Very low, though. Just behind the pickup truck. I guess you could call that a pickup truck. Just pick things up.
It's true.
Not the pickup truck that you're thinking of. If you're American, at least.
I suppose. Is it a dump truck?
Could be a dump truck.
Oh, could be.
I don't want to dump in here on Miramar, though.
No. Not a good idea.
It's all so precious. I want to take everything with you.
It's very, very slow and quite quiet, this engagement. No one's really going for this fast push. I mean, Beg for Mercy seemed to want to go in. There's only the one knock.
Yeah. Arab champions really just have not been having a good time of it. I mean, XTEAM noticed that they were getting put to sleep by death machines over and over, and now they're like, well, we could have a bit of that. 3 eliminations. They're better than Arab champions on Miramar. I think a lot of that comes from yesterday, though, where they were the controllers. Andy is in deep water.
Starting to cajole this fight. Beg for Mercy not quite getting the angle, and Andy actually getting sprayed down with a micro Uzi. Where gets that first aid off as well. Champs move through, get that flush in. Beg for Mercy, spotted by Jamaz. Don't know if this location is known. I feel like it is. Yeah, definitely eyes on the rock for Beg for Mercy. Modi pushes forwards towards Zombie. Nightmare with the backstop could be spotted as well. It's looking good for ARB champions right now as they find another onto Zombie. Immediately they're going to know where the high ground player is for XTEAM, but is it too little too late? A nade could be popped over the top here. It's Nightmare, 1-for-1 on the trade, but that's bad news when you're down so many. Beg for Mercy breaks out wide, and Jamaz has the angle around the side, needs to win this trade to stay alive for XTEAM, but spotted. Hamodi taken low, but not low enough.
I mean, XTEAM gave it a good try, a good go. I think they gave away the position far too early at times. I feel bad for Beg for Mercy, though, because in that position, playing at least in my games on Miramar, it does seem as if you would be able to take like the long-range shots, just send them. But the vehicles there do match up in a way that when you try and take that angle, you know, it's completely blocked off. And only you're very lucky if a couple of bullets go through and hit Jamaz there. So, yeah, they tried it. Again, I respect it. They're the 8-platers.
8-platers. I like it. I find that to be unconscionable as buffet behavior.
Really?
Yeah, I don't enjoy the idea of getting more than one type of meal on the plate at a time. Do you understand what I mean? I wouldn't get like sweet and sour chicken and rice and then also bacon and eggs on the same plate.
That's why you have 8 plates, mate.
Interesting.
Different plate, different meal.
I'm coming around to the idea.
Yeah, exactly. You could really put those plates away.
I can.
I just want to try all the things. I remember being on a... this is a very big tangent, but I remember being on a boat.
What?
It was a boat buffet.
Okay.
How
many boats?
Felt very awkward going up to get all the food there because we were on a boat.
I think I was there.
Like, I think you were there.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to walk around too much. I was like, so just sit on the boat.
I was also at that buffet.
Yeah. Well, now you know my true feelings about that buffet. I did not like it.
You had an okay time, I guess.
I had an okay time at the boat buffet.
Like, let me tell you something. Your anecdotes are incredible.
Yeah, you're welcome. Just adding a little bit more. You didn't know that about me. Now you do. Game Lord up towards TJB. These guys had a little bit of a scuffle early on in the phase. I had to go at it again, but this time not in Hacienda.
High nade from Zhao.
Whew.
Is it? No, never.
Oh, that looked cool though. I like that.
It did really. The tension built perfectly on that arc.
Yeah.
That could have been the Batman.
It could have been. Victor, on the other hand, throws a very non-plus grenade for me. That was just right over the top. Wasn't cool at all.
That was a Suicide Squad nade.
Yeah. No suspense.
Why do you expect me to care about this nade's progression? There's no character arc.
No character arc on this nade, dude. Need you to make me feel the nade. Nade's lives are pretty short-lived, and so is Victor. Of course, it's GK first. So sends those bad boys whistling over towards his position.
Does get the res fairly easily, but Xiao is right there. 3 of Game Lord right behind this ridge.
Oh no.
Narvalo wants to trade nades with Lin, needs to loose it before it goes up. There he goes. Doesn't get a knock in response. Xiao spotted over that ridge line as well. A long-cooked nade for Xiao, but taken very, very, very low. Everybody healing now for Game Lord. So is Xiao.
He's playing such a dangerous game here.
Where's the bat nade? Come on.
Really do need another nade of that caliber coming through. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. GK first, once again, has to play savior for the team. You see death machines off in the distance, and seeing other teams rotating through is not pleasing, especially when you're out in the open like this.
Yeah, it has to reposition. It's going to call for the team to reposition as well. They're going to fade away from this one because they are absolutely in a valley of crossfire if they stay too long. So even though they lose that little scuffle, they have a little bit more survivability moving forwards. Xiao spotted out, but that gives GK first the time to get halfway up. Unfortunately, that's as far as he's going to get. As the spray is good, vehicle goes up in flames. There is a little bit of cover. Suppressing fire can be supported, and a smoke popped in as well.
Yeah, Game Lord looked like they had this on lock at the moment. I really don't think that TJB is going anywhere with the enforcers of Game Lord. Shackling on the manacles here. Drop some smokes down, but I think either way, no matter where TJB goes now, like they'll be in the line of sight of a lot of teams. Most teams have moved across over towards La Bandita. Death Machine taking up that central position again, but they are currently split between them and the Arab champions. Might just be able to get themselves some retribution for all the times that they fell just a little bit short there in Picardo.
Xiao potentially getting rolled around on here. Akashi and Victor fast up for the duo, but the off angle for Xiao might go unknown here. What can he do in this spot? It's going to be the all-important position. Victor burns GK first back down, and the nade puts the final nail in. Narvalo hits the deck, does get knocked as he tries to stand back up to reposition. That's the second knock over towards Narvalo, and now it's Tingsker and Xiao as the last duo for TJB, pushing forward onto Game Lord's position. Rops is there, but he's far away. If they can get this push, if they can get these early knocks, and there's a third party from Ruthless Esports coming on through as well, Game Lord's forwards position starting to get punished.
It's just taken too long here. I think even the push up towards TJB's position was really dangerous. I mentioned it before that, you know, you're pushing into open ground. No matter what happens to TJB now, you might not get the elimination points, but they're still going to be going down and out. Nade sent back, and that's a lot down. Is that just the entire... I think there's one player left from Game Lord now.
Knocked, and Rops is nowhere near. Robs. Akashi can get flushed. Robs has the Mini 14, so has that DMR suppressing fire position. And that's what I was talking about as well, is that they have that position, but if they go down, that's kind of it. The circle centers out their way, and QODEX on the Picardo Hill, on the north side, they're pretty happy about that one.
Yeah, the foothills is not too bad. I think you can try and maybe send over towards the edges of Picardo here, which wouldn't be too much of a problem. But I think this is where maybe DMRs would be pretty useful to hold on to, considering the long range between these valleys. The peaks themselves are going to be real hot spots for Mini 14s, etc. Na'Vi, though, looking for the final player of Game Lord. You can see Tixi there has a pretty good idea of where he is hiding out.
Spots the helmet there. We'll know exactly where Robs is. Gets the cook on perfectly, making sure that he still knows where he is. Doesn't quite place the nade on the money, but it's kind of not going to matter because you get a second chance, and that one's a little bit better. Still not quite there all the way, but knows the amount of damage is poured in and just says, you know what, I'm just going in. I'm just peeking. And that's it.
Yeah, it's simple finish. I mean, you can never be too careful, especially with Na'Vi coming in through the blue side outside the zone. This was that just absolutely killer nade that was sent through. And you know what? TJB have stayed up through all of it. I don't really think they'll be leaving that ditch anytime soon, though, John. I think they'll be held out there for quite some time. Luckily, they are right in the center. And they're even taking a fight with TJB and MADBULLS at the moment. MADBULLS lose one player on the push. It's Skills who's down already, and there's two players in the back currently holding the compound. Zerek's going to have to make something happen. It's a 1v1, but there's support coming.
You potentially don't expect there to be a player there for MADBULLS, but there we go. The nades from MADBULLS do finally take down TJB. Na'Vi now taking up the position on that northern side after sweeping Game Lord away. And it looks like this valley is a big point of contention for a lot of teams. You can see Ruthless Esports on the south, MADBULLS on the west, Na'Vi on the north, Death Machine on the east. There's a lot of open ground between them all, and it's all in the circle.
Yeah, it's a doomed valley, really. If you're ever at the point where you get down to a single player, you're mainly sending down towards the compound that's just underneath QODEX, that's on the northern side of the valley. And then just hiding out there. You're not going to get too much done, but you might live out just a little bit longer and pump up some of those placement points. But yeah, no one wants to head down towards Death Valley, and because of the playing path, you have a ton of teams down towards the southeast who are all just battling, duking it out at the moment. It's going to get really rough. There's a lot of roads in this area too, so even crossing is going to require utility to be used. Ooh. And later on, that utility's not there for you. Na'Vi, though, have eyes on towards Death Machine, are Happies, all on his lonesome inside a compound. So is this 4v3 going on? Tixi has taken a fair bit of hits, though.
Really, really crucial that he didn't get knocked in that position, though. Making sure that they stayed alive. Didn't have to waste the time on the res. Can just reposition, continue their ordnance bombardment, and fall away as the circle moves south.
Yeah, and fall away is probably the best way to put this, and fall away massively. You're going to need at least a 300-foot drop here if you want to get into the circle. MADBULLS currently hold the ridge side. It's a really strong ridge side. It's actually where TJB and Game Lord were fighting for. So they have free reign, just peeking over the top towards the eastern side. What they have to be really careful of, though, is MUERTE, who has just taken up post over towards Picado. They've come down from Monte Nuevo, so they have a lot of free reign to work with there. Big, also a 4-man. And I will say one thing, you know, it's been really good and pleasing to see Big playing more as 4 and not losing so many members early. And I feel like I'm having deja vu, because I said this during the spring split as well, John, is that one of the major issues that Big would have is that as a team, they're unstoppable in team fights, but when it comes down to it, they're often making it towards the end of games with 2-3 players, and they never get to have that full 4v4 where they really do thrive.
That's what PUBG Mobile is all about, is making sure that you have all-round ability to ensure that you are given those opportunities. Hopefully looking for more of that in the future. Team Doom on the south side of this next circle, looking pretty happy with themselves. VIRTUS.PRO, though, pretty close. ARB, pretty close. VIRTUS.PRO in the circle, getting sprayed down by Team Doom.
They're struggling. They're looking for somewhere to hold out, but right on the edge here, coming in is not easy. They're also contending with Ruthless Esports, and somehow Mir's keeping them ahead of the time, ahead of the pack. Arab Champions also moving through, debating whether to move over towards this position that VIRTUS.PRO's taking up. That's a beautiful nade coming through from Pocus, and he finishes it off cleanly.
Very nice stuff. Good news for Ruthless Esports, but they're only on 2 players and needing to get some healing done as well. Not quite in this next circle, so still some way to go. The roll down. The M24 in hand, wants to pop a shot, swaps out to the M4 and the close hold for Zero. Needs to play around this vehicle, get 1 or 2. There is 1 on the trade, as there is backup from that ridgeline. Omar probably wanting to try and get this res, but Frosty, the last player now from Doom, putting a nade over on in. Trying to keep Zero alive, but has work cut out for him. Omar does get taken down by a nade. Pulled the pin on that as well, so might have dropped it. There's a fast flush, and the spray towards the back lines. Gonna get tailed for just a moment. The Murado not really giving that much cover, and that should be it. A nice spray from Hamodi, sees them down, but they lose 2 on that push.
Yeah, awkward there. I think they just got torn a little bit on the barbed wire moving through into the zone itself. And by barbed wire, I mean all the teams around them. It's really tough. MADBULLS were able, with the position they had on the ridge side, to get a lot of information over towards the east, saw there was a lot of third partying going on, and decided instead just to take one of the prime compounds within this next zone. Unfortunately, Circle does move away from them. I think that's Na'Vi currently going up against Unicorns of Love. Only down to 2 players now, but they will wipe out the entirety of the team. Really just looking at this, Big still got a strong shout into this game for Romanian men, also with 4. Okay, go on, Pocus.
Oh, okay. Take Aim Gaming. Shot at down the hill. I mean, this has got to be where it comes to a close for them. Death Machine won't let this one lie. That Molotov is right on the money. I don't even think they saw them. They just put that ordnance downhill. Na'Vi with their 2 players, Tixi and Matic, have got broadside on Death Machine, but the smoke cover is just a little bit strong. Ruthless Esports are there as well, taking these shots. NASA drives up the hill to get him a little bit faster on the reverse. This is Raz that just got spotted out by Na'Vi. It was 2v4 at this stage, and Unicorns had to push past Na'Vi towards the circle, and they just got shut down out in the open.
Yeah, Matic and Tixi, unbelievable combo. And I think Tixi's learned a lot of restraint over the years playing for Na'Vi now. It used to be that Matic and Meku were that big duo, but feels like now Tixi can also comfortably fill that role. Up to 7 eliminations so far and 8 teams down. You know, Na'Vi will start to rack up some of those placement points. The difficulty for them now is that they're one of the few teams in the lobby that only has 2 players. There's a lot of teams still sporting full-man squads, but not for very long. Big's already lost one of those players, so has 4 Romanian men. And out of the 3 4-man teams, it's only MADBULLS that actually has any eliminations. Matic scouted forward, fortunately spotted. There isn't smoke on top of him, I believe, so may be able to get him back up again, but it's MUERTE. Time to move back in.
Ooh, with the blue zone coming in, I don't think Matic is resable here. Death Machine put out of their misery. And on the north side, it's potentially coming to a head between those 3 teams on the north. MUERTE down at 2, so have the bigger disadvantage. Matic, he's downed already, so that is just the push coming through. First elim. You know, you've got to start somewhere for Big.
You do. Spots out immediately to MUERTE. Daliev's out of the car. Flyke just has to send away. I think he was just confused how quickly those shots came through. Big, when it comes down to it, the team crossfire is unbelievable.
I feel like that was just a double headshot on the spray almost immediately to take that one down. I mean, it must have been the amount of damage that poured on in. Big swing.
SHOCKWAVE had oversight as well. I think that's what you got to consider. It's that team fire they're able to immediately send in. I think it's something that Big's usually very good at. That's a good circle for them as well.
Certainly effective.
It's a really good circle for them.
Hard shift up to the northwest, right? And Na'Vi close, MUERTE close, sure, but there's so much open ground ahead of them, look.
And the big issue, right on that northeast side, you know, there's that road. So that is the edge of the zone. So you have to push in towards Big's position. If you want any chance in hell of finding something, an area to call home, it might be a case that 4 Romanian men may be able to cause problems, but already they've lost a player. I think for MADBULLS at the moment, ooh, that is what I was worried about. But this is a shot from behind. Fortunately, Mickey goes down before the bullets are put a stop to.
Big have got that airdrop as well. To be pilfering. Maybe a little bit of a bait, though. A bait crate. Don't want to take that sort of position just yet, with your western flank exposed. Na'Vi stands up. Tixi immediately has to sit back down, but the bullets do the job for him. MADBULLS take out Na'Vi. 5 teams remain.
Very awkward. I think Big now have to kind of dip from all further interactions in this lobby just for a little while because they're playing downhill. It's not going to work out too well for them in the future going forward. If they want to keep taking shots in, really, they just have to wait for 4 Romanian men and MADBULLS to go at it. I think the difficulty is that MADBULLS are feeling pretty good about themselves on this eastern side. They know everything's cleared off further east, considering they were the ones who cleared it. So now 4 Romanian men just have to stay alive, but MADBULLS, they are doing some serious work, and Big will have to contend with them if they make it too clean.
Amodi, I think he spotted the player down there on the wall, out in the blue zone. That's Big's point if they leave it. That will be picked up. ARB moving up with the duo. Wadea takes a lot of damage there, but stays up. And Amodi can stay in position, start establishing their spot potentially to push into this next circle. They've got the rest of the 4 Romanian men to deal with. Amodi has to deal with the MADBULLS as well, and it might just be too much to deal with. Wadea last standing for ARB.
Yeah, that's 2 fights on 2 fronts as well. Taking down a player at the back is Zerek, who's scouting forward. Extremely confident player here, John. Another loot crate comes down into position. This nade has to push the MADBULLS back. If it doesn't, you know, it might just well be night out for the guys on Big. Great shots come through.
Okay, all right. First forward position is dealt with. 4 eliminations now. Effects.
Okay.
Beast doesn't get sprayed down by Zerek. I believe there was a nade in hand there. A little bit of miscommunication or just a nice play by Beast. It remains to be seen. Sat back a little bit by the damage. Zerek and Monkey, last 2 standing now for MADBULLS. Beast trying to hold down the forefront there. Can't get the heal off, but it doesn't matter. Let's back up, and there's the team crossfire that you were talking about. Swave and Mazzaro up the hill. Beast look at a heal around the headland, and Big have it all in the palm of their hand. He gets the spray over towards ARB as well. Big are cleaning up this final circle. Monkey last to stand for MADBULLS. Looks for the spray with the UMP over the ridgeline. The nade a little bit wide. And here comes the push. They do line up just a little bit. 30 bullets in the magazine. Is it going to be enough? Mazzaro down, but there's the wide swing. And Big take it home.
Yeah, both sides, I think that, you know, Beast in the end there making the wide swing back around to take down Monkey. In the end, for MADBULLS, that is a difficult win, a difficult loss to take, right? Because it felt like it was all going their way. But Beast plays a really good game. And again, it's that Hail Mary play where Big is playing for the win, where Beast, basically, it all hangs in the balance for him. He has to hit a good nade. He has to get at least 1 knock. And in the meantime, Mazzaro, as well as Mickey, who were both knocked beforehand, send up towards the top side. I believe it wasn't Mickey, it was the other player on Big there. Send up towards the top side and sweep on the right-hand side and get high ground over MADBULLS as they're pushing down the hill. Beast, again, it's a lot that falls on his shoulders, but he's able to just about, like Atlas, hold that one up in the meantime. Really, really well done to Big. And again, if they have the players, their team fighting is absolutely formidable.
Yeah, it is. It was solid coordination there from Big. They played it by the book, and they got the chicken dinner.
They got the chicken dinner indeed, and Kalaris is extremely happy in watching the hopes of Max and I just be absolutely shattered. But Max in particular, 2 games in a row at 2nd place.
It looks so sad.
You know what, Max? I feel like because you've gotten 2nd place 2 games in a row, you deserve a little something.
Why am I getting? I would get nothing. I don't know.
Give him.
Negative points.
I am so angry right now. It's happening twice in a row. And they were in such a good spot too, and then the circle starts going towards 4 Romanian men because Kalara said 4 Romanian men, and I'm just getting...
Yeah, of course.
Of course, yeah, it happens every single time, right? So, I don't know, but, I mean, yeah, good job, Big. Good game.
Max just looks so sad. Hey, Max, you've been super consistent now. That's like 2 second places. You should be extremely happy about that.
Stop reminding me!
I gotta keep reminding you.
Keep reminding you.
I mean, you're on 0 points on the day. You know, Clarus and I are on 1 each, but, you know, at least you got those 2 second places. But Big, very happy with that win, obviously, as they needed the points desperately. And it seems like the teams we called out today are the teams who are stepping up here. We had Navi take a win, Big taking a win.
Yeah.
This is great to see here.
Yeah, it's really important that they do. For Big here in this game, course coming in from the west side, there wasn't really much rivalry kind of heading their way. I know that QODEX tried to eventually wrap around that direction, but Big in general just had a really kind of decent lockdown of some of the few hills that exist in this area, because there's not many of them. And obviously, when it comes to the predictions as a whole, to be honest, I kind of wanted to go with MADBULLS as well, because they were in a really good spot, as Max is about to attest to. But just all of these teams had to almost, in inverted commas, ally to try and deal with them, because if they didn't, there was no way they were going to win out the situation, and that's kind of what happened to MADBULLS. They just got caught in the crossfire of everything.
I would also say MADBULLS had actually a really good rotation away from their warehouse position, because crossing that road, of course, is like pretty much a death sentence for a lot of the teams, but there was that one position on the road where the road crashes into a kind of a ridge line, so they just use that as like their bank-in position to just hide from all of the teams. Then they peek over that ridge line, so the game plan for MADBULLS was good, but then you had like teams from the south, teams from the north colliding on their positions, so it made it very complicated, but it's still MADBULLS, no, still currently in first place, remaining in first place thanks to the second position, so they're not budging just yet.
I mean, they're like their lead even further. They were 32 points ahead. They should be even further now beyond East Stars. But we'll obviously see a little bit later on in the show. Now, we do have to take a quick little short break here where we get things ready to go for our fourth match of the day. But now we have John Allen, once again, I'm assuming, teaching us about bikes.
In PUBG Mobile, the four-wheelers indeed offer the most convenient traveling experience. However, you might want to lose some weight for higher mobility to pull off a cool, narrow escape and get your squad to the finish line. Bikes come with a peak speed of 164 kilometers per hour, making it very difficult to chase down using other vehicles. Especially during urban fights, a bike can be your ticket to storm through the alleyways and leave your enemies in the dust. It's also a good option to scout unmapped territories and ensure safer travel routes for the rest of the team. But like all good things, the two-wheeler comes with its own set of cons. And if not careful, might lead you straight to your doom. The motorbike is not as flexible. Making sudden turns on this is an impossible task due to its stiff handling mechanics. So having a thoroughly planned escape route is a must when you're being chased down by enemies. If there's a turn you must take, the rider must stay prepared for it at least a few seconds before the point. Plus, to maintain acceleration through the uneven terrains of Erangel and Miramar, it's crucial to adjust the tilt of the ride while you are airborne, unless you wish to fall flat on your face. Then, there's probably the most cursed bike in PUBG Mobile, the three-wheeler. To be considered only as a last resort, the only advantage it offers is that the side passenger will be able to shoot any weapon with full accuracy. But would you risk it all for one gunner? Stick around and see how the pros get it done.
It's a weird little Pimp My Ride video there. I think Exhibit did a little bit better, though, than you, John. No, obviously getting to learn a little bit more about the bikes, but as we do have our next match of the way coming up with match 4 on Sanhok, why don't we take a look at the best performing teams on this map so far? And we do have, of course, MADBULLS, number 1. That's a lot of eliminations to have on average, to be fair, on Sanhok.
It's mostly, and we saw that in the first 3 days of this phase, right, where they are just instantly focusing a position, instantly going for the rotation, and when they get in a good spot, of course, you're going to get a lot of eliminations because Sanhok is really weird how the map works in that sense, and how teams trying to crash positions, so MADBULLS were able to capitalize on really good spots in that first week, reason why the average is so high currently. So, yeah, I mean, MADBULLS were able to somewhat crack the code, but one team that I have to say is very scary when it comes to these Sanhok matches, it is Take Aim Gaming. Like, they are currently the top hero strat team, I would say, of this entire lobby, and they get second place or third place pretty consistently. So Take Aim Gaming is like the new, as I said already earlier, TJB of this lobby.
There's also something very important to know about the Sanhok coming up, which is when you look at the MADBULLS numbers, why are they skewed in this way? And it is because of this exact Sanhok at the exact time in the first 3 days of gameplay. This is the Sanhok where Big was not present, and this is the Sanhok where Mad sent it towards that location to be able to kind of lock down on that northwest island, right? Now, of course, Big is, you know, moving and shifting around and going to other locations, but if Mad sees opportunities, which is the coolest thing about them, they will take them based on the rotation of the groups, the rotation of the maps, etc. So this is why I like watching them currently on this pedestal.
I feel like you got a different level of appreciation for MADBULLS since you knew who the coach was. Pokemon Molodor, just like,
I've been VOD reviewing.
So good, the macro, so good.
I've been watching some stuff back, you know.
I mean, would you say, though, Cloris, that they're probably one of the most methodical teams we have in terms of what we've seen out of them on Sanhok, or like taking advantage of teams not being in the lobby and using that to their advantage?
I think you can go beyond Sanhok. I think you can go just to actually a lot of the battlegrounds that they're playing here so far. I think they're taking very decisive, quick moves and moving to really prime locations. A great example is the warehouse that they just took in this previous circle. As soon as the circle shifts, they go to this warehouse. All three of us, 2 of you actually do pick them, but all 3 of us are saying, that's a great rotation. That is the right spot to be taking for the potential win here. And if it wasn't for some unfortunate happenstance in the final moments, they would have won that game based off taking that warehouse. It's a great spot to transition even over the road if the circle actually moves it, because it's a little bit of a kind of plateau, a little bit of a low ground for them to actually move over. So yeah, I love the spots that they're taking and their map knowledge based on that.
I have the impression in general MADBULLS have set a standard in how the macro is done, like with these rotating lobbies, and I think teams are trying to match that in some way. And I think some teams have been able to get there, like Eastern Stars changing their rotations when it comes to Erangel, seeing that also from big on Sanhok in particular, trying to not clash with Na'Vi when Na'Vi is in the lobby. So there's definitely teams willing to make the adaptation now, and I think that MADBULLS has definitely set like the pace of what is the best playstyle to go with these rotating lobbies.
Okay, well, thank you so much, gentlemen, for all of your breakdown here of the last match, and of course the match coming up. But it is time. What?
Bow. You were thanking us. Continue.
Okay, I'm never doing that again. Let's throw it back over to John, Allen, and Blake to kick off our 4th match of the day.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Max. And yeah, no, that's about it. Thanks, Blank, for coming with me on this next game of the day. We're going back over to Erangel.
Yes, we are. That was interesting, to say the least. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of detracted from all the good analysis that was done that has appeared to have just miraculously left my brain now, unfortunately for myself. But I will say, yeah, I think the guys are right that MADBULLS do take some extraordinarily aggressive positioning where it matters most, right? But I think that in the same vein, they do get a little bit ahead of themselves sometimes. Especially like a team that big, they were pretty much down and out at the end of that game. And yes, they got picked apart on that top side by a couple of nasty off angles, but still as the 4, I feel like they should have been able to clean up those guys below. And I think making the really early push on it, John, not maybe the best idea in the world. We are heading back over to Sanhok now, though, with our fresh lobby. MADBULLS will be in this one. We'll see if they drop over towards Paradise Resort or make a little bit of a shake-up this game. Most of the time it has been Paradise Resort so far, and Pioneers being in the game means that Boot Camp should be occupied. So I wonder where Arab Champions are going to be dropping.
Have to wait and see. Greedy Guts. Looks like Team Doom are dropping in with 3.
I did not. I thought I saw a purple. Yes, they are in the game. Okay, I'm not going crazy.
No. Well, you might be, but not because of that.
Might be. I can't see them on my lobby list, but I can see them in the game. So that's what's thrown me off just a little bit. But again, the original point stands true. It's like, I wonder where Arab Champions are going to be heading off to. It looks like they're not going to be taking up Boot Camp. I think they realize that they're falling behind just slightly, and they'd rather find some more consistent points elsewhere rather than taking the Akashi coin flip over towards Boot Camp.
I like it, the Akashi coin flip. Na'Vi undisturbed on the western side of the Northwest Island. Big, obviously not dropping into this game. Eastern Stars, though, are starting to be a bigger presence, I would say, on the east side of that Northwest Island. Proving to be quite troublesome. Nexus, QODEX, and even Gamelord have presence over towards Pioneer.
It will be Nexus who have already taken down a few players from QODEX here. Just the 1 DBS. Instantaneous action there from the DBS. The shells ring true. Double DBS, I think, in fact. So 4 eliminations, QODEX out of the game. Gamelord, though.
QODEX have really fallen off over these last couple of games.
Yes.
I mean, it's not been super great. For a team that was sort of second place contenders, looking at that first place potentially, they did really well day 1, if I remember correctly. And ever since then, it's just kind of been a question of
meh.
Where are they? What's going on?
Yeah, I think for QODEX in general, you know, it felt like there was some really confident and good plays happening from this team. And then since the debacles that have been happening in Hainan, where they're just unable to find the landing that they want, the clean landing without people taking shots or finding a player right on the drop, I just don't think they've been looking too hot. It's just a case of that confidence has been completely shot. They're not able to take some confident pushes into the circle itself. And when they do come up against other teams, they're quite handily put down, to be honest. So I'm curious to see how they'll improve right now, because we know that there is, you know, stuff left in the tank for them. The question is when are they going to start pumping on the accelerator?
I mean, it's almost kind of like NEXUS has stolen their mojo, right? Just a little bit. They've got that board, and they are starting to climb their way up the tables from a fairly poor start.
Yeah, well, we're actually seeing a lot of different teams, and I was thinking about this earlier. We're seeing a lot of different teams at the moment actually shooting up the rankings. And it is a little bit crazy to see with so many different teams starting to poke their faces in to the action. But at the same time, I'm all here for it. I think XTEAM started to make a little bit of a rise. And we don't particularly have that one team that sat right at the bottom of the ladder who looks unsavable, right? You know, these 2 feet in the grave at that point. But at this time, you know, 1 foot in the grave, 1 big toe in the grave, maybe. But they're not down and out just yet.
Not fully. I was just looking at the points totals at the moment, Blank, and between 10th and 15th, that's 5 places, 3 of whom will get into the extra Livic game and 3 of them won't.
I've seen that too, yeah.
There is a difference of 127 in 10th place, and in 15th place it's 124. That's 3 points between 6 teams, which is absolutely crazy close. Some of those teams do have less games played, it has to be said. That's Unicorns of Love and NEXUS, who have been on the up absolutely over these last couple of days, but that is still very, very close to be playing at that sort of a margin this deep into the first phase, right? Because we're past the 3/4 way mark, I believe, after that game. So teams do start to have to look at closing in on their positions that they want to end up in.
Yeah, and I completely agree. It's very weird because that top 12 is very important for the Livic match in particular, and then you're also looking for as many points in this phase 1 as possible so that you can be the victor and take first place in and take home 20 points with you through to the finals. But that fight for those 20 points right at the top there, it is quite competitive. But between teams that I honestly haven't really seen too much out of over the last few matches, and that goes back into yesterday as well. I mean, QODEX, you just talked about them falling down. PIONER, yet to be able to secure that chicken dinner, and out of through 1 till 9th place, every single team in that bracket has found a chicken dinner other than PIONER at the moment, who are sat in 5th place, which is a little bit insane to me. Death Machine not really popping off. VIRTUS.PRO not showing as much of that aggression that we saw yesterday and success. And Eastern Stars even, yes, they're getting towards the end of games, but it feels very raggedy tag at the moment. You know, Bazzi getting the end of the game all by himself over on Erangel. I think MADBULLS have probably been our only consistent team throughout the phase 1, personally saying.
They've had about a 40-point margin for the better part of 2 days. And whilst that sounds like it's consistent, it's technically it's performing the same as the teams below you, which means that they aren't playing any better than any of those other teams. They are relying that margin on their early days before. I mean, they got, what, like 3 chicken dinners in a day or something?
Yeah, they absolutely popped off.
In day 2, they absolutely popped off, and they have been consistently doing well in everything else, which is why they are sat so far clear ahead of everyone else.
Which is something you absolutely want to see from a team, is that, you know, if you can have your pop-off days and then your not-so-pop-off days are still decent, right? That's where you want to be, because every time you do have a pop-off day, if everyone below you has performed the exact same as you, when you don't have those amazing, like, blowout days, it doesn't matter, because when you do, you're going to get an even bigger lead on those teams behind you. So I think for MADBULLS, they're sitting in really good stead here in Western Europe at the moment. Fortunately for Eastern Stars, again, our second place, so I just don't think has been showing us as much as that team play as we have expected from before. They're already losing one player here to Na'Vi, who are looking a little bit more prominent in the lobby.
Bazzi going down. Tixi does get refragged there, but Kapahala's low. Are they going to look for the flush? There is an off angle as well from Kame as they start to put the cat amongst the pigeons on the engagement, but in goes the Na'Vi duo. Kame is flushed. Tixi stays alive as well as Kapahala tries to push in for it. Na'Vi take out the Eastern Stars handily. This is a rotation that they should have known about, Blank.
I think that yes, Eastern Stars should have known about this, but it's been a while since Na'Vi has been this decisive on moving through. Usually they take a little bit longer to scout on top of the Northwest Mountain, then they creep down just a little bit, tippy-toe over towards the waters, then head towards the compound with the walls on it. This time around, you know, they knew the Eastern Stars typically play on this eastern edge, and with this circle, you might want to swoop in behind boot camp and avoid a lot of that crossfire you're going to see from a few teams. But this time around, Na'Vi just spots out immediately, comes down, and it just ruins the day of Eastern Stars. So it's really nice play from them, and it's just slightly faster than what we usually used to from Na'Vi.
Speaking of slightly faster, Take Aim Gaming have actually taken the compound on the south side of the river that Na'Vi are going to want to cross to. I don't think that they've taken this position this early against Na'Vi's rotation, that they make this way consistently for the main island crossing before. So it could potentially prove for Na'Vi to be difficult if they haven't scouted it, if they don't know that there are players here, if they aren't staying mindful, or if Take Aim Gaming just send across the bridge and leave this position early.
Yeah, this is very different to what Take It Gaming would usually do. Typically, they'd hold the bridge side, but because it's out in the blue and there's no big in the game, there's no one ready to hold out on that Camp Alpha position. And with big changing spots now on Sanhok, there's no real reason for Take Aim Gaming to even hold Ruins out anymore. They'd much rather get further into the circle, especially when it's like presenting over towards this eastern side of the map. Does center up right in the middle of Sanhok at the moment, so lots of tree lines to play around with, a few ridges. You got these warehouses as well that XTEAM has found their way into. This is right on the eastern side, just to the west of Quarry.
3 players on Team Doom they dropped in with, unfortunately. They're kind of close to the center, so not the best game to be playing with 3. Zombie wants to hitch a ride on the bonnet. I feel like that's quite treacherous, especially when there's people shooting at you. But all 3 of them roll up towards Perks, and Doom are down to 2.
Dude, it's a fake out. Did you see how quickly he got back into the vehicle? You know, you had phase 1 and phase 2 earlier? That right there was Zombies phase 1 and phase 2. Ooh. Phase 1, on top of the bonnet. Phase 2, I'm in the back of the car. You can't see me anymore. And that just ruined the day of Perks. Frosty, who's typically been like one of the most outstanding members here on Team Doom, and as I say that, he completely proves my point for you.
Zombie and Beg for Mercy both taken down. Andy wants to trade, but there's more damage just pouring out of this compound. The shot's just not landing for XTEAM. Having a real tough time of it.
Yeah, now Frosty, practically the only one left in the running. Redox does spot him. One more bullet and he would have been down. Frosty quick with the reactions there to immediately hit the prone. Not easy to do under pressure as well, because he has to get into a position where he can actually hit the deck. So it may have looked slow to you in terms of the case he went down to 20%, but he has to move out first before he can prone. So almost an immediate reaction. So really, really well done. I think Frosty deserves to get picked up by a team at some point if Team Doom end up disbanding. But so far, still going strong. Unfortunately, only 3 players in this lobby right now. Game Lord took a very central spot. It's the one that TJB would usually take, but with them dropping up towards the north side of the map now, Game Lord's happy to take control of these compounds as well as the high ground alongside these trees.
Take Aim Gaming did move across the river, didn't really give Na'Vi too much chip about getting across towards the mainland, which may be a little bit of a mistake, given that there's really no... I mean, they do manage to get a foot in the compound, a lot on the roadside, on that junction, sure. And they can get there a little bit early, but they allow Na'Vi very easily onto the mainland.
Doran from Nexus down towards that southwest side. Very typical position for a lot of these teams. One of the few really massive bits of high ground down towards Quarry, where you can see out. Really good for getting that scouting done. Specifically down towards the compound, you can see that Take Aim Gaming's currently holding. As you know, you're going to have to be crossing that road if it heads up towards that north side. So this is a really good position from Nexus to pick up some early information, figure out where they want to rotate next in the circle. You can see absolutely no one's really making any drastic movements as of yet, just picking out a lot of the high grounds around the map. Even Pioneer, you can see them out towards boot camp. They got 2 left behind to care for the water crossing, and then 2 ahead towards the hill just to the eastern side of boot camp. But this really doesn't cause too many problems within the mix, and Game Lord's really happy with this still. They might need to pack a little bit more tightly now, as teams may want to try and challenge for this position. But I don't think too much is going to happen from now until the next zone. I think it's 4 Romanian men and Death Machine who are most likely going to get into a couple of fights, maybe between them and Nexus.
The hillside's covering them off just for the moment. Death Machine running just behind that ridge line, denying EXO too much info, but they do breach that ridge line as he hits the deck, maybe looking for a spray. This definitely spots a player. They should both have been spotted out there. And Nexus draw first blood on the engagement as NASA goes down. EXO not really contributing too much there. And they are aware that there's a player down the hill. I wonder if there were some shots that came from there.
I do wonder. Wonder's getting knocked and flushed. For Nexus, I think that we haven't seen a lot out of this team, but they're really, it's not no-name players that are on this side. I think EXO is the only one that I don't have a huge amount of experience with. But Redox, Doran, Octavian, really highbrow players from where they were coming from. I think that, you know, Doran as well as Redox had really good breakout performances over on the 4 Romanian boys, but it's Octavian has so much experience coming through. Already up to 5 eliminations off the back of their QODEX team wipe. Big rotation here for the flank from Redox.
Right next to, it looks like essentially a 1 versus 1 out here for these two. I think Redox knows that there's someone by the tree. I think this is wise. I don't think you want to be this split from the rest of your team. He's waiting for the rest of the shots to come through, but we'll just fall back. Maybe getting some info towards where the position of the other pair of players is for Death Machine. We can now get an irreversible spot should he get knocked.
Yeah, I think for him it was just a case of peeking over the top side of the lip and just seeing where some of these players were holding out on. And that's realistically all the information you need. A lot of these teams now starting to split up just a little bit more to try and take as much space in the circle as possible, which is really cool to see, honestly. TJB probably with the biggest and most dangerous split over towards behind. You got 2 guys up towards the North Ridge, and then TJB, you got Tingskura as well as, I believe that's Xiao, who's moving into a compound just the north side of Quarry towards Arab Champions, who are currently duking it with 4 Romanian men. These guys have been looking for a place to inject in the circle for quite some time now.
Next circle coming in soon. Will isolate several areas. I mean, goes right down towards, actually, Take Aim Gaming's compound on the southwest of it, Game Lord, with their central position, potentially holding out a couple of teams on that northeastern side. Nexus spotted by Team Doom. I don't think that flush has come through, and they'll be looking for that res as soon as possible.
Good circle still for these teams towards the center. Pioneers are looking pretty happy with this one. They will have to fight alongside Take Aim Gaming and Na'Vi. So it does get a little bit hot over in that location. XTEAM really in a rough spot right now, with 2 players already down and 4 Romanian men hot on the tail. But again, if you're on the southeast, for Death Machine, Nexus have basically done their job for that, because they've sent them out towards the quarry, where it is just going to be a complete horrible run through that area over just bumpy terrain.
for Romanian men pushing into ARB's position, with Team Doom as the wildcard on the west. They know these windows are dangerous, but XTEAM are going to shoot up towards for Romanian men as well, as they come in from behind. Reposition, there's a vehicle there. They can try and razz it in through, but there's really nowhere to go.
Might be able to send it past Team Doom, possibly to one of these smaller little huts out off in the distance. There's a fair few compounds, but Rana has a good idea of what's happening. Smokes are dropped, though. That's from Team Doom, who are trying to deny sightlines from 4 Romanian men. Now they're crashing directly onto Team Doom themselves. Rana's already down to Arab champions, though, and that's along the way, so they've got the side swipe.
Oh, no. One more player from Team Doom is taken out for Romanian men. Take that fight. Now it's just Frosty in the building against a Groza at close range. Difficult, sure, but definitely with the health advantage right now. Doesn't really have too many meds to play with. Nightmare, on the other hand, looking pretty healthy, getting that crate. Refresh the weapons, refresh the armor. Andy now up to bat against Frosty. Sends on into the building. Taken very, very low, as again, no health kit to be seen. In the meantime, Frosty spraying around the corner, but it's only going to take one bullet. Andy will deliver just that.
Yeah, Andy takes his time with it. I think that's probably the best thing you could have done with the opportunity you had there. Unicorns of Love going up against MADBULLS. Pretty rough. I'm almost certain that Unicorns of Love are going to go down here. All the players so incredibly low, but Monkey, Zerek on the floor here. Zerek outside the zone. That is an unreal Molotov. Question is, does it hit Gonzo? Not quite. He's able to get the heal off. That would have been really bad news for Unicorns of Love should that have happened.
MADBULLS going to be getting back up to 3 in the engagement. Unicorns stuck at 2. Rolkis and Gonzo, the last 2 for the squad on the northern side. Circle does give them some respite, does allow them some leeway, but Rolkis spotted by Pioneer.
A lot of this area is viewed by Pioneer. You can see them down along the way. A little bit of lake as well in this one. Arab champions, though, they've had eyes on towards 4 Romanian men a long time and have kept taking pot shots. They just want to keep them out as long as possible, but the run-in is brutal. This opportunity for TJB to perhaps take a third party, but I think they've been just outside on the edge of the zone for too long here, caught themselves in a similar scenario. Now to Arab champions running in alongside the blue towards uncharted territories.
Na'Vi holding off
Not again.
NEXUS. We saw this last game. We saw this on the Erangel, and then Na'Vi didn't do so well. They're doing a little bit better this time around, though, as 1 and 2 step up to Meku, and he rebuffs them handedly. Matic is there as well, but he's downed. They will need this reses. Don't think it's possible. Out in the zone. Will need to push on in, and Na'Vi have a gauntlet ahead of them. Kitsune and Tixi will just need to heal. I wouldn't be too surprised if we see a Na'Vi heal strat coming through in the next couple of seconds.
Yeah, it's not really much point there at all for them. MADBULLS and Unicorns of Love really throwing a line this time around. Unfortunately, this comes on screen as it does. Na'Vi gets obliterated. There's really no reason for NEXUS to try and take that crash. It basically seals the fate of both Na'Vi and NEXUS there. At least one player does make his way into the circle, and that is Tixi. You definitely send him. I mean, you know, if you send anyone in, send Tixi alongside, just because I think this guy has what's required to make some clutch plays in the end. There's 2 down, but they will have spotted that 100%.
Oh, the nade was there. Tixi pushing in. Does he get the drop? No, he doesn't, but still going for the engagement. Tixi knocked. Okay, so it is just a heal for Kitsune out in the circle. Take Aim Gaming trying to clamber their way out east. I imagine it's a similar story. Meds probably dropped over for Take Aim Gaming. Only 8 first aids there. 6 first aids in hand, and this isn't even a healing team for Pioneer. Mind pushing in from the south side. Hamodi, by the way, for Death Machine is still healing as well, all the way south.
Max goes for Game Lord on the predict. You know, they've been in this central circle for a long time, have a lot of information. Mind finds at least one from Pioneer, and this slows down the push-in, and they'd be loving to start sweeping out across towards Unicorns of Love and Game Lord, but it's those hectic little few players that are remaining out in the blue with no other teammates to support them that are just causing problems for Pioneer on the southwest side.
Take Aim Gaming lose their healer. Kitsune now for Na'Vi with Hamodi. The last two on the outside. However, Mind is pretty close to the circle. I think he only had 1 or 2 first aids and will need to push in now, right next to Pioneer. Spotted it out, so no first aids left for Mind.
It's the stims and a whole bunch of first aids, and that stim actually saves his life. But the blue might just take it, but he is crawling in. The energy drink giving him life right now. Game Lord currently have a really good position. Uphill, difficult to play around with. Unicorns of Love can still go for the side swipe here, so they got to be careful for the claws.
On this ridgeline, Rolkis leashes a Molotov, forces a player to go out really wide left into the blue, take a lot of damage if they want to engage that way, and dissuades the engagement fully. Mind finally dealt with. 4 teams remain. Hamodi for Death Machine, healing all the way to the south, and has been for so long, finally falls, and we're down to 3.
Takes a 4th place there. Rourke is now creeping around, and Gonzo giving the calls back. Game Lord and Unicorns of Love playing a bit more of a peaceful game here versus Pioneer with the high ground as well. You'd think it was more acceptable for Game Lord as well to hold this, because no matter what happens, if they hear fighting over towards this west side, this northwest side, then they know that Pioneer have come into contact with Unicorns of Love early, and they can kind of pinpoint the positioning of Pioneer. So I think the fact that Game Lord do disengage from this fight early towards Unicorns of Love and just allow them this position whilst, you know, warily backing them off. It's very smart. Nate comes over towards Victor. It's not far enough, and Mitsu isn't able to hit it, but now they have a general idea of the location of Pioneer. Oh, they're forcing them into one another. I love this from Game Lord.
Game Lord have the lion's share of the circle. Rolkis is right there. They've got to be wary. Everybody is so close. A stand-up, I think from Akashi down the hill. No, sorry, from Victor down the hill. And some shots start to pop off. Unicorns of Love might use this as go time, and they do. Black-White goes down, gets flushed almost immediately. Rolkis strikes over towards Game Lord. Victor falls as well. Just Akashi left, and Unicorns might be able to take the high ground advantage. Pioneer with 2 players now operating against just Rolkis. They know where he is. He's right behind the tree. Mitsu, look at a heel, but swings out wide instead and puts the final bullet in. Taken down towards the top. It's Pioneer to take home Sanhok.
I said at the beginning of this game that Pioneer yet to have found themselves a chicken dinner, and there it is on Sanhok of all places. However, we got to break that down, John, because that was a crazy ending to that match, because I do think the Game Lord played a very interesting game, and even the stand-up from Victor was calculated, because he didn't want one of the Pioneer players to go round the rock towards where the Game Lord players on the top side were playing. He wanted it so the blue pushed in, so this is the rock here, pushed in, and then forced him to move round towards Unicorns of Love's position, so they engaged that fight together. Unfortunately for Game Lord, they're not able to keep the iron wall long enough up. The Unicorns of Love just put an absolute spanner in the works there and caused all kinds of problems, because they did not expect them to live that long.
Well, we're going to go here and then come around and then with the rock and then go over to the analyst desk.
Yeah, poor Max.
Yeah.
This face keeps getting sadder and sadder. I love it.
That's 3 podium finishes in a row. Come on. Yeah. Good job, Pioneer. It's good game. Keep it up.
The best part was, obviously, as we're watching, we've seen Game Lord get flanked upon, and you hear Kalaris getting more and more excited. Game Lord are gonna lose! Game Lord are gonna lose! Max, watch!
That is my
And then
Everyone is against me, I feel. Why am I even here? I don't even know in the first place. But yeah, I mean, Game Lord, they had some good times on the eastern side, right? There was a lot of teams, like, what, 4 or 5 teams that were trying to fight with. They got themselves on top of those fights a lot of the time. But as mentioned also by the casters there, the high ground position of Unicorns of Love did play spoilers on the position of Game Lord a lot of the time at the end. And then that iron wall just fell down crumbling. And Pioneer just like, okay, we waited out. We got the numbers. Let's just push it up and get the win. And Pioneer do just that.
I mean, this is Sanhok 101, right? Like, in terms of third parties, I was talking about it in the previous game on Miramar, being like, you have to do this if you want to defeat MADBULLS in this situation, and people did. But on Sanhok, it's so prevalent, like having these situations where third parties occur. Because as everybody's approaching the crest of this hill, they're all coming in from different angles and can't see each other until the very last moment. So it's chaos. It's hectic in these situations. But it was rough for Game Lord because I feel like they were in a brilliant winning position for quite a lot of this game. But it just does not work out in the end with eventually people coming in, or teams coming in wounded as they do.
I mean, I feel like with Game Lord, this is the first time we've seen them actually get towards the late stages of the game since maybe, I don't know, the very first match of this whole event where they actually won. I feel like they've been kind of non-existent for such a long time here, and I'm not sure exactly why.
Yeah, they've been very subpar. Like, they started off today on, what was that, 7th position? So they are getting a few points, a few eliminations, a few placement points here and there. But as you said, they just very, very rarely make it to that podium finish. They did it a few times. Like, I'm looking on the first 3 days, they got themselves a chicken dinner on the first game, then a 4th place, a 2nd place, and a 2nd place. And other than that, nothing until this game now. So it's a little bit up and down, it does seem, for them, and in particular more down than anything. So yeah, Game Lord have been trying to make changes. We already discussed that when talking with Robs on the interview last week, but the changes have not been able to really stick just yet, so more changes need to be made.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously for Game Lord, they need to continue to step up here. Again, they were like the most dominating team, I want to say, when it came to last season, but here in the fall season, they're having a tough time. But Pioneer, I mean, obviously a big win for them. We saw them, we talked actually about them, I think, like on day 3, if I'm not mistaken, and how they're actually a really strong team, how they've been really consistent in points, one of the most consistent teams here. And again, it's been a while since we've seen them here on towards the top of the leaderboard, but another well-rounded out game for them.
Yeah, I think one of the things that made me scratch my head most in this game about their eventual approach to later circles is they weren't coming into those circles quickly. They were still holding out teams, knowing that there was a looming threat on the south side of them, with teams like Na'Vi, with Tag also moving kind of up through all of these positions. And they made sure that it was quite dicey, to be perfectly honest. They made sure that they weren't able to kind of backfill on their positions. And with that, I think that was one of the biggest keys to their victory here. Because if they'd have been backfilling, I think there would have been a lot more problems for them.
Yeah, exactly, because I'm looking back actually on how they rotated. Sure, they were slow, but the moment that fight broke out, it was like, what was it, Nexus and Na'Vi instantly take the high ground ridge, and then they just third-party that entire fight, which, you know, as you said earlier, it is Sanhok 101. You're going to have those third-party happenings. The timing from Pioneer on that third party was key, and then they get access to the compound, which allows them to get into the finishing circle to then get the win. So actually, the timing was, sure, a little bit slow, but the timing to make the rotation happen was actually on point, so good on them.
Okay, I mean, great to see them perform well here on Sanhok. We still have 2 more Sanhoks to come up tomorrow, though it won't be the one happening today because we've already had our 2 Sanhoks today with Erangel to come up next. In the meantime, while we have about 5 minutes until the next match is about to kick off, we're going to head over to John Allen once again, and you'll never believe what he has to say about weapon combos.
Regardless of our personal choices, carrying a thoroughly planned arsenal is a key factor to winning gunfights. Weapon choices are primarily dependent on your role in the squad. Usually, most professional squads in PUBG Mobile feature 2 assaulters, the entry fragger and the support fragger. As both roles require that you take the initial heat during any fight, guns that are overpowering in mid to close quarters are fit best for them. Fraggers are usually advised to carry either 2 automatic assault rifles or 1 assault rifle combined with an SMG. For fraggers, the primary weapon should be an all-rounder like the M4 and SCAR-L that perform well in all ranges, while the secondary can be a 7.62 rifle or an SMG like the UMP45 or Uzi, which are capable of inflicting better damage per second. The third player in the team, who is usually a DMR or mid-range specialist, should be equipped with weapons that have an advantage in tap-fire trades. An AR or a DMR equipped with a scope or a DP28 is perfect for this role. It's very important that this player plays to the strengths of this weapon and gets the knocks from safe distances. Giving up the damage drop advantage, challenging an M4 player with a DP28 in a red dot range is suicide, as the M4 has much greater bullet velocity. Guns like the Mini 14 also received a damage buff recently, so DMRs equipped with 4x, 6x or an 8x are highly suitable for this role. Lastly, you have a dedicated sniper, and this role requires that you must carry a bolt action that can deliver knocks in one tap. The sniper must keep a dependable AR, for they may often find themselves the last one standing during these intense endgames. While this formation was based on a common example, your squad might also have different formations, but you can still pick your combo in line with these examples. More importantly, your weapon combo depends on your situation, so for early fights and hot drops, even carrying 2 SMGs might be a smart idea. The perfect weapon combo is one that adapts best with the situation. Which one do you think is best for clutches? Let us know in the comments.
Easy answer there. Which weapon's best for clutches? The DBS.
The DBS.
Right, Colors?
That's right. It's fantastic.
That's right, it's me, the DBS.
That's right.
Gentlemen, we're about to head into our final match of the day. It's going to be Erangel once again. Now, we've had, I think, an interesting 2 days so far. If we look back at the first section, the first half of this first phase, the first 3 days, I should say, we had a lot of consistent winners. We obviously had, like, on day 1, 3 teams win it all. I think on day 2, 3 teams win it all as well, if I'm not mistaken, though I could definitely be mistaken. But here, I feel like in these last 2 days, we've had so many new teams getting chicken dinners that weren't getting them previously, or ones that we've been asking to see step up. And I wonder if that's just a testament to how well they've been VOD reviewing and preparing in that time off they had.
I think it was expected, right? You have a 4-day break and teams are going to understand, okay, things are not working out in the first 3 days. We need to bring some changes. Then you can look at what potentially MADBULLS were doing, what Eastern Stars were doing, and especially what VIRTUS.PRO was doing towards the end. And you can have a good sense of what works, and then you just make the changes, which we saw so far from some of the teams. You know, we're seeing some glimpses of hope for Na'Vi. We're seeing Big performing a lot better here. Shockwave too, and MUERTE. So I think that changes were made, and teams have been able to really step up heavily. So I'm props to them in particular, but still a lot of teams at the bottom that I still need to see a lot of things change up.
Yeah, especially if we want to make top 12, and that's going to be very important when we get into tomorrow, but obviously that's still a day away. Before we could even get to that, we obviously need to get into our final match of the day. So let's throw it back on over to John Allen and Blink.
We're going straight over. We're coming into game number 4, and we're going into Erangel. It's going to be good. Are the Unicorns of Love going to survive? We'll have to wait and see, Blank.
Game number 5, my dude. So, you know, we're in game 5, man. It's end of day. It's been a quick day. You think it's been slow? It's been quick.
Wait, hang on a minute. We're game 5?
Yeah. It's been a fast day, man. Super fast day, in fact. You know, people have been hot dropping all over the place. We've been having lots of eliminations coming through. I think we're gonna finish around about, you know, half an hour early. But that's Sanhok for you, right?
True. It's a double Sanhok day, which does make it just that little bit shorter. And a single Miramar day, I think. We're getting double Erangel. Yep, you're right. I just completely lost track of time. Game number 5.
That's fine.
To see it.
I'm here for you. I'm a timepiece, man. Big heading into this one as well. Curious to see where they'll drop here on Erangel. VIRTUS.PRO, again, let's see if they can get some more Erangel magic in there at the end of the day. But you know, it still has been left to be proven as of yet. I'm still not 100% about VIRTUS.PRO so far, even though they're so far up on the rankings, right, in this tournament. It's a question of whether they can keep that type of thing up. Game log come off the back of that game. I don't think they were happy with that one. I think they were expecting to take the victory, but they go out much earlier than anticipated, and instead will take the L on it. Still get a fair few eliminations, and that will bump up the numbers, and they desperately needed bumping, my dude, I'll tell you that now. But they have more chances here on Yasnaya. And usually Erangel, Miramar, that's where they did really well, and that's why we like them as a team, right? Because they didn't get those weird wins over on Sanhok. They didn't pump in those healer numbers. They were just bread and butter Erangel, Miramar winners.
Sometimes that's all you need. Bit of bread and butter, lovely. Maybe toast it. Still, is bread still bread once you toast it? Does it become toast and not bread?
Toasted bread.
But is that toast? Is that a different thing?
I think
no longer
toasting
bread.
is a modifier.
So you think it is still at its core bread?
I think at its core, it's still bread, my dude. Yeah,
Okay.
100%.
But if you said to someone, "Pass me the bread," you'd expect, would you expect toast or a slice of bread?
Contextual.
Good answer.
Yeah, there you go. I've got all the bread answers to that you need. These teams still looking for a little bit more bread though, and obviously phase 1 is going to give you the opportunity to get those points over towards the finals, to be earning that bread in the finals when it does come around. And that's going to be a while down the road actually, because we're going to get through phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3, and that'll be all happening over 2-week periods. But as we head into the game, you know, after we finish this first phase here, teams will get a little bit of a breather for the next event. They'll get the full reset. Yes, they might not have got the amount of points they would have liked going into the finals, but it doesn't matter. You know, you go again, you get the full mental reset, and realistically, at the end of the day, you could have a case where every single team gets very similar points coming into the finals, and there's not that one team that outperforms anyone else, which is something that can happen, and then you just have a fair finals. Whoever takes it, and they are the best team in the lobby. VIRTUS.PRO head towards Rozhok. Big over towards Severny as per usual, so don't make too many changes here. And again, it's another Gatka finish.
And without Na'Vi, no one to swing down on that west coast early. No one for NEXUS to worry about too much. Big have landed in Severny, but unfortunately, Beast didn't get the memo, and there is an automatic shotgun in the hand of Perks.
Dear, yeah, he dropped very far out of the way. I think he was attempting to get back to the team there, but 3 players for Big. Now, if I am Big, though, I think that getting away from this Severny drop is not a bad idea. You know, when Na'Vi's out the game, North George being completely free, it just doesn't make any sense not to take North George, right?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, it is certainly an open spot that they can go for, a position that they take, but maybe a little bit too unfamiliar with it if they don't want to go there regularly or don't go there regularly. Those rotational paths can be tricky. I mean, if you already commit, then you commit, right?
100%. And I mean, if you are a team in PUBG Mobile, you should typically know where a lot of these locations stand and how to play them. But again, if you're comfortable in Severny, you know your rotational paths, like you say, John, maybe there's no reason to go for it. Pioneer, on the other hand, they're very happy to move up past Hospital towards Georgiopol on the south side, perhaps even looting crates. They're going to get absolutely mega looted on that side and be fully ready and raring to go. I think one of the worst things that can happen to you is if you kind of have to commit to a place in Gatka and you know because it's surrounded by fields, the only time you're going to get any loot is if a team ends up crashing into you.
Which isn't ideal. Unless you're super confident in taking that engagement and taking it effectively before you expend too many of your resources, it kind of just replaces the stuff you already have and you're kind of back to square one. So
Exactly.
It's not the best way to get loot, but it is a way.
It's a certain way to do it. But that all comes off the back of actually winning the match, right? You have to win. You have to win your team fight before you can actually pick up any of that loot. So you sometimes do have to ladder up slightly. Game Lord, average survival time about 19 minutes 48 and 3 eliminations per match. So this is just not the Game Lord that we're currently used to so far. And because they have been such a long-standing roster, you just wonder if this is almost one of those burnout scenarios where they have got so far so many times, but it's fallen short some of the hurdles, but still proven themselves. And maybe it's a question, just this is the tournament where maybe they don't have the most amazing stats in the world, but they make it through and they'll just make a decent placing in the finals. Again, there's still phase 2, phase 3 to figure out exactly how all that will go down. But I am hoping that we will see improvement. Considering you have 6 weeks as well of gameplay, you know, there's a whole bunch of time to work with your coaches, work with your analysts to figure out exactly what's not working, what you can improve on, and how you can go up against some of these other teams in the lobby. It's a long time to play with these other teams. You can get real comfortable with them.
Absolutely. And not only that, even though you do get bonus points for your placements in these games, there is still so many more opportunities to equalize because only one team gets 20, and even if you finish like middle of the pack, you're still getting 10 points for the week, right, in towards the finals. Like that's a good, solid game, right, on in PUBG Mobile, and half of the teams in this lobby are going to get 10 or more, right? So it's quite a it's a linear distribution of points, which means that it's going to be very, very malleable in terms of those bonus point standings. So even if you have a bad week, 1 week, it's still very easy to catch up. Because if you look at how it happens in games, it's a little bit of an exponential score per each game, right? So first place gets way more points on average than second place, and way more points than third place. And then fourth place gets a bit more points than fifth, and then fifth, slightly more than sixth. And then it starts to level out, right? But this time around, it's a very linear and forgiving curve if you don't get up high that early.
Pochinki seems to be quite the hotspot at the moment, John. Got a few teams heading through there. Ruthless Esports, who've kind of commanded Pochinki for a long, long time. Back on Unicorns a lot, back on UDR Killers, back on Giants. You know, this has been an area where they love to drop and they know it inside and out. And it's always a very comfortable drop spot as well, just considering where it is placed on the map. So easy to get out of, easy to find locations out in the future. They are actually... I've noticed this quite frequently, is that they're taking pot shots towards teams that actually rotate past them now. A lot of times they were very passive over towards Pochinki, not taking Pochinki heals right now like Ulysses is currently doing, and scouting out these other teams that might be getting a little bit too close. They don't want people to have comfortable rotates past Pochinki, especially when you're commanding such a strong spot, and PNL finds out the hard way.
Yeah, does manage to get back behind the terrain, stay alive with half an HP bar, does a swift little barrel roll into a tree and then out the other side. Turn around just a little bit, but it's going to be all right. Death Machine, not so lucky. Ultra knocked. QODEX will finish that one off. NASA also getting knocked, but answered onto PNL, who was low from previous tumbles down the hillside. And potential res onto NASA.
For many men coming in down from the coastal side, they could also enter into this fight and cause some problems. So far, I would say that QODEX's current fighting plan is very scrappy. You know, they do lose people quite frequently. They do trade off players quite a bit. And I think this is the first time we've seen what I would call quite a convincing win coming through from QODEX in terms of a team fight.
Certainly today, it seems like they have been just rolled over, bowled over a couple of times so far, but it's good, even if it's a little late on the day, to have a good performance. Try and keep themselves in the conversation. XTEAM and MUERTE going head-to-head, and XTEAM suffering. Zombie out last and down last for XTEAM, eliminated 16th.
Fortunate stuff. XTEAM just get obliterated. Back to their usual antics, unfortunately. They have really tried to push the boat out a lot over the past couple of days, but this time the boat's just too far gone. It's out into the waves and the surfs, and really it's just lost to that awful, awful ocean. So we'll see them again when we do explore the XTEAM shipwreck. We'll really thoroughly go through maybe some of the mistakes that led to a couple of the holes in the side of the hull, maybe tomorrow.
Get those planks out. Get repairing.
Get bailing.
Get to bailing, that's right. Set the heading away from those cannons. Doom trying to skirt under the purview of Nexus Gaming. It's going not terribly as they get 1-for-1 trade onto Redox up the top. Frosty, though, a pivotal player. You were talking about the strength of this guy. So if he goes down, gets flushed, could be disastrous. Perks makes the cross to the flush player from Nexus, and they should be able to get this res. Nexus down to 3 on the north.
Yeah, typically Frosty's the one that kind of pulls them out of those really nasty scenarios that they find themselves in. He's the kind of guy that, you know, you're just about to fall off the edge of the cliff before he grabs you by the forearm and pulls you back up again, and that's what you really do need a lot of these times. Luckily for him, Team Doom, the rest of his teammates actually pull through without him and able to get the ice pick into the wall and pull themselves up this time, which he's probably very pleased about. You know, he's probably quite sick of having to be the guy that has to rush to the edge of the cliff face to, you know, get his team back out of danger once again. But Team Doom, I think, as a team from the beginning of the phase, have changed quite considerably. Even on Miramar, they're starting to show up more and more and more. And they get towards the end of the game. Yeah, they haven't put a load of points behind them in the backpack, but still able to get something done there. 85 as of the last game. Again, Ruthless Esports and 4 Romanian men ahead of them with 96 and 95. But when you look at that though, right, you don't think to yourself, Ruthless Esports or 4 Romanian men are bad teams. We just have such a high caliber of players in this lobby and teams overall that, you know, if you want to be on top of this leaderboard, you have to be very damn good.
We're talking 50 cal or, you know, 762 or...
We're talking 50 cal, man. Yeah. We're talking go through 3 walls and turn your TV on. Kind of cal.
That's pretty impressive. That's some juggernaut stuff going on right there.
Pioneer at the moment will be just passing through the fields. Obviously, these are the guys that went up towards South George, John. You know, they took that opportunity, understanding there's no one up there in the meantime, so can quickly just pass back through Hospital Fields, knowing it was clear earlier. MADBULLS still on that western approach, taking a big line. In the meantime, Big have moved from box compound on that north side further into the circle itself, and we'll see where it does actually end up centering.
Could be another western side finish. I mean, that's what we saw last time. It centered up just kind of where, I think it was near where PNR are, just to the west of it, near where the MADBULLS are, but this is much further north. Keeps the river and the northern shore inside of this one.
Yeah, this one's really awkward to play around. And Big have, you know, they have the outside track on this, so they technically can get into a decent position, but this is a case of kind of floundering a little bit, because what is a decent position in this circle? To me, probably underneath Everest, one of those compounds there, or even trying to hold down towards ruins in the church tower. That's not a bad spot either. Again, a lot of these positions that are really quite... You can fortify them, right? The places you can fortify the most are the ones where it's most difficult to get away from should the circle shift away. And already, with this kind of presence from the circle heading all the way to the northern side on a shift, you're not really sure where to play.
VIRTUS.PRO got themselves a couple of buildings to play around, but Shockwave potential to crash down south, but do they want to? Probably not. Holding on the edge of ruins. Not yet, anyway. Let everyone else do the hard work. 4 Romanian men a little bit further west, and MUERTE, their remaining players, trying to send straight on through the middle into the Valley of Death. Dadeyev draws a lot of fire. Ingush not taking too much flak right now. I think Dadeyev spun out, but managed to get a reverse drift in behind some cover. Although he does have an ankle poking out.
Yeah, I think even with the 2 players here, it's quite a greedy play coming through from MUERTE. I think because it was such a hard shift, there was so much room in this circle for everyone to get into. You just kind of had to respect the queue, right? If you were right at the back of the queue, you were taking one of the compounds on the south side. MUERTE, on the other hand, are having to send in tons and tons of smokes here just to even attempt to get along this ridge line to maybe just lie down behind a tree somewhere. So I think for MUERTE, this is a little bit of a crazy play. They do make their way to church, though, and find a little bit of shelter. Big will see this. They've taken up Castle. It's not a bad spot at all, and I think having the pick of the litter, this is probably where I would have gone as well.
So finally a little bit of respite found, but there were no smokes in the inventory there. You were talking about how they expended those early. They're going to have to hope for a fight and to pick up some off another team. Unicorns of Love looking to move in now past the Eastern Stars, but KMA holds behind the car for 1. Looks to bat for a second, but the wicket is taken there, and KMA is down and out, flushed. Eastern Stars not looking to push back up onto this position. They know they need to head west first as a priority.
Athis sends it up. Gonzo knows he can't get his boy back up again just yet. Drops down the smoke off in the distance, and then quickly one over towards Rolkis' side to try and deny some sightlines. You can see Ruthless Esports off in the distance, though. Pocus, who's been having one hell of a day so far, starting to fire it up. Next circle already here, and it really does feel like it's come just as quick as we saw the last one just pop up on a screen. It's all the way over towards the eastern side. Sunken City's still in this one, and also those rolling hills where you can start to play around with. Now, Game Lord have played these similar locations before. See what they can do with it. Nice nades coming through from Athis. We'll put the hurt into Unicorns of Love. And again, with them being so close to the circle, this will be a bad time to start losing members.
Well, this is how you do it. Athis on the money with the nades. Pops another one in. And more shots ringing out. It looks like Ruthless Esports are there. Gonzo doesn't get away with it. Tries to buggy out through the smoke, but the bug out is shut down as it is another nade to blow him on up, and Ruthless Esports just spot all of these players out crawling around. Unicorns of Love left with just Crypto.
Yeah, squashed like an insect there by the nade. Really good timing, and I don't think that, you know, Athis could have planned that to happen. But regardless, I don't think he was letting any of them go from that spot. Gamelord again with another really strong spot in the circle. And it's time to make Western Europe proud here. You know, you've been gifted 2 opportunities, and now here's your second on the line, and you really have to make it work.
QODEX in a scrap of their own against Team Doom. The PP Bison was good for 1, but does get sat back near the tree. Luckily, they don't get knocked until they regroup. But unfortunately, in comes Michiu. Not going to go for the push just yet, though. They're just securing that res, getting away from it.
Michiu leaves, spots out Nexus. Octavian peeking his little beady eyes around the corner. Michiu spots it. Smokes go down. Hoping for an exit for Nexus. They're right on the edge. Pioneer, though, equally harassed 4 Romanian men over towards their position, holding them out on the western side.
Killer, nade in hand, does get spotted. Vash up the stairs. No drama. But now has more to deal with. 4 Romanian men with 1 player downstairs. Alawi gets a shot through the window to shut down a little bit of backup on the upstairs, and in come the 4 Romanian men to deal with Vash. They do so handily. An excellent resurgence into the fight off the knock on the backup player for Pioneer. Really heads up play for 4 Romanian men, but they are still very much in danger. Nades start to come in from Black-White as they are just down to the 2, and one of them knocked on the wall. Nades continue to go on in, but not really finding the mark on the downstairs. Black-White spotted out in the open, and 4 Romanian men stay all alive.
Yeah, GetRex able to put an end to that one, and Pioneer just can't quite take that crash to their own advantage. Ruthless Esports from Pachinki, they've not had to move far, and they would love to make a good game out of this one. They currently have 4 still alive. 1 obviously is down. It's Ulysses, the captain of the team. But 4 eliminations, it's decent stuff. They've been trying to take advantage of the circle and not letting Nexus go quietly here.
Looking for those reses. The smoke has bloomed around them, giving them that visual cover. It looks like they will be able to get back up, but will they stay that way? That nade's a little bit far out there. That one might be good, though, for a little bit of a knock or some pressure. Certainly finds the first. There's more nades pouring in straight on top of that, and Octavian's now very much at risk. Ruthless Esports send on in with the drive-by, but Octavian did get the heal. Pushes out through the smoke. Good for 1, but traded off. Down in the ground in the smirk, it's Nano to shut it down, and Nexus now need to find these challenges, but there's 3 players alive for Ruthless Esports, just the 1. Exo for Nexus Gaming, and that's a big nade to try and keep them in things. Doran crawling back now through the smoke, and there's backup still to come. Nade sent far back. Nano Baby flagging. 1 flush comes through, and Exo is holding on for now.
Ulysses has to toss another nade over the top. It's just Pocus and him, long-standing members of the team. Another nade. It's not quite far enough, but the smokes are there, and I think he might have just got the flush on that one. Just decent enough, but still tries to keep putting the damage over towards Nano Baby, but it's so unlikely that they'll be able to get him back up again. We're very much into the later zones of the circle. VIRTUS.PRO, really strong compound for themselves, but this is a case where you have to make work with this. Make do with this compound, because you have to leave soon. So you need to sweep as much as possible.
Exo spotted, goes down out in the open. Nothing really doing there, but Nexus do go down because of it. Big, trying to move out past the 4 Romanian men, but do suffer just a little bit. This is VIRTUS.PRO holding out against QODEX. Staying all alive, so good news there. Mihi is down, but they did take out the 4 Romanian men on the northwest side and allowed themselves a route of progression. They are in this next circle. VIRTUS.PRO, not so lucky, will have to leave their compound with Shockwave looking their way.
Yeah, you've got teams all around this circle, anywhere they can find some kind of position to push in. And with the way this has ended up right on the hills, There is so many locations to hide around towards the center, and Victor's played this position several times before. Gets up close and personal with the high ground. I call it high ground, but really it's just a slight slope that you can start to peek over the top, and the rest of the team send flying in. I wonder if they know MADBULLS are currently behind them. You would assume they would with the amount of smokes they're currently throwing out. And realistically, maybe they can peek around the side. Find a couple of shots back towards MADBULLS after they have to leave Sunken City.
I mean, Game Lord's position is really strong with no one behind them, right? So if they can deal with MADBULLS, that's going to be the absolute game changer for them. Another nade from Tulika over the top brings Akoni low and confirms the flush. Old Boy is there to deal the damage. UMP sprays down, lines them up, and knocks them out the park. Tulika moves on in. 4 players alive for VIRTUS.PRO, but big spot that progression along the ridgeline. A little bit bold maybe, but Aza taken down by VIRTUS.PRO.
Tulika might be able to bring Old Boy back into the fight, and VIRTUS.PRO currently with 4 players. Circle heads up towards MADBULLS. They don't have far to go here. Kalar still sporting the MADBULLS hype on his prediction. You know, I actually respect the Jason VIRTUS.PRO pick quite a bit. This is very uncanny for Jason to try and go for something that, like, no, he believes in that spot. He believes that they can play from here. Currently, they're on a really big split at the moment.
I'm just holding out for Max.
Oh, he's going Game Lord again.
Yeah.
Respect, man.
We got this. We got this. Finish the day out strong. Leave Jason in the dust on the predictions. Kapahala bots Ruthless Esports across the way. Does the job he was signed up to do. MADBULLS, though, ooh, they've spotted Victor and they've taken him down. They know there's a team behind them, definitely now. If they didn't before, they're going to be very aware. But VIRTUS.PRO putting nades over the top as well. Find another for Game Lord. It's such a dangerous position for them to try and hold now.
VIRTUS.PRO seemed to come alive in the last game of the day. Unfortunately, Old Boy's once again put down by the players from Big. You can see Game Lord down there. That Molotov will just absolutely barbecue the lads.
That's going to burn, that's going to sting. Rob's crawling out the way and just getting some healing done. Athis is there. Now Valo wants the challenge. No helmet on Athis leaves him very vulnerable to these ridge peaks. Really, really difficult to go for these challenges confidently when you don't have that head protection.
And Game Lord set themselves up very nicely to challenge out the guys from MADBULLS, but because they're being harassed by Eastern Stars, they can't look towards their north side. And MADBULLS are getting a sneaky, cheeky run in from that north, and no one's shutting them down. Some good smokes to eliminate any sight lines coming through from VIRTUS.PRO or Eastern Stars.
VIRTUS.PRO are doing well on this advance.
Focus.
They do finally get shut down. Old Boy is on the swivel, and now Mihi has suppressing fire. But they both go down to a little bobble nade over the top. Tulika. Rezable maybe, if they want to commit that far.
Everyone's taking fights. It feels like so many teams, but realistically, it's just these players been split up so thinly across the map. And finally, you saw it happening eventually. It was going to be the Game Lord players taken down. They got themselves in a ditch, and there was absolutely no way they were getting out of it. It's just a case of tossing some nades in as easy as making a 3-pointer.
Without sweeping behind you, that position that Game Lord were in is almost a death sentence, and Eastern Stars are now in that same spot. And I imagine it's going to go a similar way. Losing one already. MADBULLS with a baseline of fire. All 4 of them alive. Looking to finish this day out strong. VIRTUS.PRO with 3 on the southwest. Maybe looking to play spoiler to that, but there's just so much open ground, and MADBULLS control the circle next.
Yeah, the VIRTUS.PRO got a hard push ahead of them. They're pretty much gonna have to play strongman with the truck and just drag it into this circle, because it's not gonna be easy here. It's gonna take some brute force to get their way over this fielded side. And with MADBULLS still with 4 players, an effect on a beautiful off angle on the side, you know, if anything goes wrong here for VIRTUS.PRO in terms of this initial fight, Effect might just be able to clean it up. And I love that they learned from their last game versus Big on Miramar, where there was a nice off angle, and Effect has decided to kind of steal that out, and it just creeps away from the loot box, provides some good information. And this is the brute force we were talking about earlier.
He also got an AUG for his troubles as well. An absolute laser in these open field battles. Effect finds Kapahala on the spray. They're trying to trade it off, but hits the deck just before going down. finally does get knocked in the end. VIRTUS.PRO used this chance, though, to move on forwards. Eastern Stars have taken one down, so VIRTUS.PRO have even numbers there. Did that nade go under the vehicle? It was just a smoke, blocking off sight lines around the side there against VIRTUS.PRO and allowing Eastern Stars to move just a little bit more confidently. Chulika trading off the vision with an old boy on the off angle. MADBULLS still on 3.
VP just don't have all the information. They've been behind enemy lines for so long. Even rocking up this position was a huge gamble for them. They're so unsure of where the MADBULL players are that, you know, they're not even looking in the direction of skills. They don't even know he's here. They're assuming that some of the Eastern Stars might be this final team. It's just Athis remaining. Has a decent off angle. Might be able to start things off strong, but it's just this tiny little slope that separates the fight blooming between MADBULLS and VP.
Athis is right up in the face now of VP. Shimmying out. You've got to think an ankle's going to get spotted soon. Athis does have the third-person peak advantage, but up to the tree. Brings a broadside, and MADBULLS take him down instead. Really nothing doing there, but now is the time for VP to try and take this one home against the MADBULLS. The nade is long there, over towards Old Boy. I feel like Old Boy's going to be pivotal, Blank.
It's been such a strong game so far from VP, but now they're really slowing things down. Another nade goes over, and honestly, this is just pointing the hurt towards VP. Ooh. Old Boy, though, has a really nice angle.
Not quite able to get the knock just yet. Effect backs it up from the ridgeline. Next circle, actually, kind of on top of the VP players.
Yeah.
Xeric wants this.
Such a nice angle from Old Boy, though, because as long as Mir and Chula can weather the storm of utility, which I think they have, for MADBULLS to peek over the top, they have to go in the sightlines of Old Boy. And with the vehicle he has general protection. Skills is really the only one who's going to be the massive thorn in the side, but 3v4 is not easy. No utility for VP left at all, and Xeric just sending shots over towards Old Boy time and time again, but Mir steps up.
Oh, 2 players from MADBULLS are down now, traded off for only 1 on Chulika, brings it even. Chulika not really resible in this scenario, and there's the push. Did he catch it? Effect gets the spray in, but doesn't quite find the knock. There's another coming through, and it's all up to Old Boy now at the back, but the blue zone is pushing it. It's just too much. MADBULLS take down VIRTUS.PRO and take another chicken dinner.
I mean, Old Boy still has it in him, though. You saw that he tried to go for the spray transfer. You see how quickly he locked onto Xeric in those final moments? Goodness me, I'd be terrified going up against that guy. You just see the little red dots of light just light up in his eyes. You're like, goodness me, it's over for me today. But yeah, honestly, a really, really good game from VIRTUS.PRO. That was a very difficult push for them, considering they're having to battle off against a lot of different angles coming all over the place. MADBULLS had a fairly easy approach, but again, as soon as Mir stepped up and I saw 2 players go down for MADBULLS, that could have gone very differently. I was slightly confused where, you know, they headed behind the UAS and then popped back out again. I think he was just really unsure of the angles, and with skills there as well, I think MADBULLS did a fantastic job of securing that location, that even in the event of the worst case scenario, they were still able to clutch out in the end.
Yeah, it was unfortunate as well during that game. I mean, Game Lord, it looked like they had a little bit of a chance there, but as soon as they moved into that valley, without clearing out the MADBULLS, they couldn't put pressure onto the other sides of that hill, right? Which is really what you need to do in that position. And the backstop of MADBULLS just didn't allow that.
Yeah, hugely problematic for them. And I think for MADBULLS, they got away with slight murder, but I do think it was facilitated by some great smokes and great timing. We're going to head back over the desk on some more great timing from me.
More great timing from you. Yeah, all right. Well, gentlemen, Claris?
Hi.
Hi.
What would you like me to say?
Whatever you want to say. The floor is yours.
It's very difficult to be this excellent, Jason. And that's where I'll leave it, you know? Just, that's it.
Max, you look upset. What's wrong?
I wanted to pick MADBULLS. Initially, I went with Game Lord on the timer. I was like, oh, actually, MADBULLS got a really good rotation. And Kalaris picked it. And then I was like, okay, I'm not going to take his pick.
It's so funny. We're very much in sync after working with each other for so long in terms of analysis that we saw the MADBULLS rotation and we're both like, oh, then like writing it down. And then I'm like, no, you've already gone with Game Lord. You've already gone with Game Lord.
No. I mean, okay, with Game Lord in particular, the position they went to is really good. It's good when you have no teams around you. Unfortunately, where they were in a little dip, and you had MADBULLS North, you had Eastern Stars South. On the West, it was like 3-4 teams. I think the only way Game Lord can play that position is if they clear MADBULLS on the North or Eastern Stars on the South, and then play from that position and hold the ridge. Then it's a winning position. If you just leave teams on their angles around you, then you're going to struggle. So yeah, it's a good idea, but unfortunately the execution was maybe not the best in order.
For sure, a classic case of going there a little bit too early. But I mean, ultimately, it wasn't exactly easy for MADBULLS at the very end. Jason's pick, VIRTUS.PRO, was looking pristine on the other side of it. And I mean, they still made that almost work in a 3v4. So, I mean, if that was a 4v4, Jason, I think you're probably walking away with the chicken dinner, but just a little unfortunate there.
I mean, you also brought up a good point while watching, because you kind of lost some faith in MADBULLS just because they've had no action leading up to that point. They were on 0 eliminations. VIRTUS.PRO, I think, were on 9, and you're worried that like they haven't had the chance to shoot anyone yet, so they might be a little bit cold. But it didn't really seem to matter though. Monkey in particular was having like some great positioning. I think he had the overview max, but he's also supporting his team quite well.
Yeah, actually doing some really good work there. His angle on the backside, I think he had like a little hilltop, little ridge to play from, which is really good to keep information on all of your teammates and where the players are trying to push from. But as you already said, Carlos, if it was a 4v4 and the position that the side of VIRTUS.PRO were coming in from, I think it would have potentially went the side of VIRTUS.PRO, because they were like on their heels. They were feeling really good in that game with so many eliminations already. So yeah, I mean, it's good to see still VIRTUS.PRO being able to frag out these big games, but MADBULLS have been a little bit invisible. And I think that you looked at the stats a little bit before this game here, Kalaris, and like the top 5 teams have not been showing up almost at all. And this is actually, we're coming back to form at the start of this phase, with MADBULLS actually getting himself a win. So it's good to see. Eastern Stars also gave himself, I believe that was 15 points this game. So the top teams are getting back in the swing of things.
Yeah, and it's I think a good thing to see that, because I was getting very concerned that maybe it was a little bit of a flash in the pan for them in the first 3 days of play. But at least MADBULLS showing like they still are an extremely strong team. But then again, so are VIRTUS.PRO as well. The amount of eliminations they were able to rack up very early on. But still impressive to see overall that we've had so many teams be able to step up here so far, except Game Lord. And by the way, Max, I'm actually going to be giving you half a point for that little mishap if you were originally going to choose MADBULLS, but then you had to go back to Game Lord. But I'm also subtracting 1.5 points for you jinxing my team after your team knocked out.
So I got nothing. Why even bring it up?
No, you lose 1 point overall.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sure, actually, I didn't do the math. Yeah, true.
Okay, but when it takes, let's take our eyes and our attention over towards the MVP of the day. Now, we've, I think, been wrong most times. I think Max was right once with Icy yesterday. But I'm not sure who's going to be the MVP today, because we've had so many different teams playing well. I don't need to guess. It's okay. You don't have to guess.
You don't have to guess? Okay.
I was going to go with Effect, but okay.
Okay. All right, he's going with Effect. Let's actually take a look at our MVP then. And this way, Max can't lose because he's not predicting. But Kalaris can.
Oh, yeah. Bang, bang, bang. Bangers left and right. Bang, bang. What about you, Max? What are you saying now? He didn't do anything, I know.
Can we find a new analyst?
We can. We can. We have that power.
Can we take Blank? I'll take Blank, please.
We're actually going to take Blank's alter ego, Blink, and have him in on the show.
Oh, yeah, I love Blink. He's a cool guy.
Yeah.
He's all right.
He's some Blink. It's all right. All right. Let's take a look at the results, though, over today. I actually want to get through this quickly because I want to take a look at the overalls massively and spend some time on it. But if you missed out on any of the matches today, you can see who won our games. And we did have a couple of new people. We got Na'Vi finally showing up. We got Big, Nexus as well. I mean, Pioneer we've already talked about before as being a strong team, and as well as MADBULLS at the very end.
Yeah, it's really cool to see from like Na'Vi, Big, and Nexus in particular. They started off the day.
Is that right? What? Nexus got 18 eliminations in their victory?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my, I didn't even notice that.
They were popping off. They cleared Na'Vi, they cleared like they cleared full squads every single time, and they remained as a 4-man team every single time too. So yeah, they really stepped up. That's the record, the new record actually that we got so far in eliminations in a chicken dinner from Nexus. And Nexus, Na'Vi, and Big, they all needed a win because they were all in 14th, 15th, and 16th respectively. And if they want to go play that Livic match tomorrow, they needed a step up, so they made it happen. Oh, wow.
Almost doubling their lead. MADBULLS were up 30 points at the start of the day. almost 60 points.
That is rough for these other teams coming up. The problem is that today has been, for a lot of the teams, like a resurgence of these teams down towards the bottom, but MADBULLS is the constant. And to be honest, had Miramar gone a different way for them, this could have been even more of a lead from MADBULLS. So they're looking crisp right now. Whoa.
I think they could just not play tomorrow and still be number one.
Yeah, I agree. They almost certainly would be, yeah.
It's actually very surprising when you're looking at their point split too. Normally you're always looking for that typical 50-50 split, you know, the same amount of placement points and elim points. Their placement points, they got himself a lot of those, but I would even say their aggressive playstyle is also really good. Sure, they're not able to convert it in as many elims as placement points, but they are an aggressive team. Like, I would be showing these stats, I'd be like, okay, maybe not a super aggressive team. They just get into the late game and like get a few points here and there, but like they are good when it comes to taking fights. So I'm sold. Like MADBULLS is looking insanely good this season.
They are. As we look down the list, though, some other teams looking decent enough. And we did have Big shoot up the rankings. NEXUS, Na'Vi, I think, kind of stuck around to where they were before. Unicorns a little bit quiet today, though, it seems. And then TJB, another team that's been extremely quiet today.
But quite the odd phenomenon, I think, is fair to say here. 12th, 13th, and 14th. There's Big, NEXUS, and Na'Vi. All three teams of which got a win at the beginning of the day. Now, because all of the teams at the kind of down towards the bottom here that we expected to do a bit better all got a win, they've kind of just shifted up like 1 or 2 places each or so, all just kind of around each other. So it's kind of cancelled each other out just a little bit, even though there have been some victims, of course, like Tag, and kind of fallen a little. So it's a bit of an odd state for today.
Yeah, a bit of an odd state, but a very welcomed mix-up, actually, I would say, when it comes to who's winning matches. You two, though, I have to let you go for now. But don't worry, I'll bring you back, because I'm going to bring in someone even more handsome than both of you combined, which isn't that difficult. We got Mihi coming in from Big here to talk about how they've been doing. And first of all, as we bring him in here, I got to ask Mihi, can you hear me? Are we all good?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I can't hear him, but he can hear me. That's not a good sign. But at least I'm just going to let you talk. I would ask you the questions and just know I won't be hearing anything you're saying. So to talk to you about this, though, let's talk about how this first week has gone for you. I feel like, you know, we know each other well enough that I can be blunt. First 3 days, not looking good. But today, though, you guys have actually stepped up quite a bit. What's changed from the first 2 days of play now to these 2 days?
So actually, we had a hard start because a lot of things changed since the last PMPL, and we tried to get used to it. So we figured out the problems and the mistakes we did, and we tried to change it in this weekend. Now I can't hear you anymore.
Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know if you finished answering, so I'm gonna assume you did, and I'm assuming it's an amazing answer because it's always amazing. So Mihi, obviously going into this season, we have some CIS teams coming to the mix. Has that changed your guys' game plan at all? And have you guys like seen how strong they are? Like, do you feel like they're worthy of the titles that they normally have of being really good teams?
Yes, I think there's a lot of things that changed. I'm actually really happy that we have the strong teams in our region now, because the overall skill level went way higher. So the competition is like, in my opinion, the competition went more to competitive instead of random things gonna happen.
Okay, cool. Well, last question here. Again, great answers. They've been fantastic. Going into the rest of the event, the whole format's kind of changed, right? With the whole phase system and points that you have at the end of that phase, determine how many points you get into the finals. Has this changed your guys' game plan going into these weeks, or is it kind of just normal, just play, try to do the best we can and win?
First of all, we just want to play the first phase. We didn't expect anything, actually. So we just want to know how the teams are playing, how the games will be played, and from the phase 2, we expect more from us, from the results, and I think that's gonna happen.
Okay, thank you so much, Mihi. I'm so sorry I couldn't hear your answers, but I know they were great, and I'm sure Claris and Maxman will tell me a quick recap of what you said. But thanks again, man, and wish you the best of luck in the next days.
Thank you very much.
Okay, gentlemen. Yeah, I mean, good to see his face. You guys got to hear what he said. If you want to give me any sort of information, that would be fantastic.
I think the takeaway is kind of the last question, right, and the last answer. Obviously, looking at how things have gone out in this first phase, it's kind of almost a scouting mission. And coming into the second phase, they're expecting better results. And I think, like, as time is going on, as we're seeing them develop and kind of move around some of these other teams in this lobby, that probably could occur with this kind of roster. So I'm gonna agree with what Mihi said. Let's hope that it does well in phase 2.
I think my favorite part is when he said that Jason was his least favorite person on the desk. You know, I think that was
the best bit. Actually,
that was the best.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Well, at least I got one prediction correct today, Max. All right, so gentlemen, that is going to round out our second day here in our 3-day stint, but we have 1 day left to go here in our very first phase. Keep in mind, tomorrow there'll be 6 matches. We're going to be doing a Livic at the end of the day, but only with our top 12 teams. And the points at the end of that will determine how many points those teams carry over into the finals. So if you're first place at the end of tomorrow, guess what? You get 20 points straight into the finals to use as an advantage over the other teams. And right now it's looking like MADBULLS will have it. You gotta tune in tomorrow though to find out if they'll be able to maintain that #1 position, and we'll see you guys then.